Alrighty, folks, welcome on into the Central Committee stream from your host, Mike from PA. We are live. Sorry about the little bit of a late start, but I'm here. I did some of my morning shit before I hit the go live button, so we don't need to have as much music playing today. Welcome. Well, chat, what do you know? It is May 11th, 2026. And hey, guys, what do you know? The ceasefire wasn't real. Wow, I can't believe it. The Strait of Hormuz was not open. I can't believe the ceasefire wasn't real. You took a morning shit? Okay, listen, it's TMI, but let me just say that you should be regular. If you cannot set your watch to your own body's systems, something's wrong. Okay, something's out of whack. All right, like it should be a regular pattern. Either you're not getting enough sleep, you're not eating eating healthily. Something's wrong. You know, that's all you need to know. The ceasefire was fake and water is wet. What else is new? Well, it's kind of like really interesting to me because, you know, obviously everything's fake, right? Like the stock market is going up because of AI, right? AI is going to replace labor and increase profits, which is not going to happen in the long term. But in the immediate short term, right, according to the AI optimists, that's going to happen, right? Society's going to be so much better. But then you actually look at shit and it's like, wait a minute, how is that actually going to work? Like, what's the story that they're telling? Which is like, okay, we're going to build hundreds of billions of dollars of AI infrastructure investment, right? And then we're going to have trillions of dollars of energy consumed. So we have a really fancy chat bot. And it's like, okay, well, how are they, like, do we have the infrastructure for all of that to work out? And the answer is no. Furthermore, who's going to buy it? Fewer and fewer people have money. Who the fuck's going to buy this thing? And then, most importantly, where are you getting the energy? So we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the energy. The fucking, like, it's just a nonsense. And like, you know, I know a lot of people talk about the K-shaped economy, but like, unless Bezos and Musk start consuming more, things are going to keep getting worse. I don't know if you guys noticed, but April home sales disappoint as higher mortgage rates weigh on buyers. The other aspect of this is people aren't lowering prices, because why would you? If you have a 3% interest rate, you don't want to sell your house, right? If you sell your house and you go to a 7% interest rate on the new place, your payment is going to go up fucking almost like 60% or something. So no. So sellers have no pressure to sell, and buyers can't afford it. So everybody is just stuck in this perpetual motion machine, I guess, waiting for people to die. Sales of previously owned homes just rose just 0.2% month over month in April. Housing analysts expected a gain of more than 3%. The average rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage ended March in the high 5% range and then shot up sharply in April due to the Iran war. The median price of a home sold in April was $417,700, up 0.9% from the year before. Just rent at peak price. Yeah, and rent prices are terrible too. Although I think in some places they're starting to come down, but still they're awful. And so we have the housing market is garbage. The oil prices, I guess now Brent is 103 and US oil is 97. So like the prices make no fucking sense. It's so funny because like if you look at US oil, right? You have these spikes, and then we're about to have a ceasefire crash. And then it starts to spike. We're about to have a ceasefire crash. Oh, we're about to have a ceasefire. But then there's no ceasefire. Amazing. It's actually amazing. I'm kind of surprised. When do oil shortages, when are they really going to start? Because, like, we're not getting Middle East oil. There really isn't Middle East oil coming through the Persian Gulf. There is some going through that Saudi pipeline, but that's not anywhere near. What's going on with the oil market? It doesn't even make sense. Brent oil tops 103 after Trump dismisses Iran's peace proposal response. Wow, what a surprise. It feels almost boring how predictable this is. We also, what else are we talking about today? Josh Shapiro, another Energymentum favorite. is now trying to attack Hasan and Chris Rabb. Meanwhile, Hasan got a op-ed in the New York Times from Josh Gottheimer. And of course, we have the Hasan bad Weaselly little liar. I don't know, man. Like, I think the video seems to be pretty solid and fair. I haven't seen anything unfair about the video. But I can't justify watching this for 4 fucking hours, man. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. But I think it's good to finally have some slop tubers who are fighting back against the lies. Like, this has been a demand that's been around for a long time. Is like Hasan good, actually. It's one of the content that I would have actually put out myself, because I have been a Hasan supporter from the very beginning through thick and thin because of his ideology, and he's a smart guy and he's a good guy. You know how rare that is in the online space? But overall, I want to say that it's good that we're starting to see the swing back. And, you know, he only had 2,000 subscribers and he's got 40K views. That's pretty damn good. The video's made for pulling normies out of the fuck Hasan right-wing pipeline, not for us. Oh, no, it's already happening. And it's happening in part because Destiny is not a good source to orbit around. This is something that I explained a long time ago. And Destiny is a bad person to orbit. I've never seen anyone become successful orbiting Destiny. Every single person who dedicates themselves to orbiting Destiny ends up destroying themselves, no matter how big they were before. Everybody, you know, there's a lot of people that have encountered him over the years, but the successful ones are the people that go, oh, this guy's a fucking toxic cult member, cult leader. I need to get the fuck out of here. And they make their own way, right? Like, everybody who tries to orbit his ass fucking ends up dead. I was on a social local podcast this week about campaign for District House of Representatives in South Dakota. We talked about healthcare, South Dakota's broken tax system, and ag. I understand you if you don't spend any time of it since such a small race, but love to see it get it boosted a bit. Okay. I mean, listen, my buddy, pal, friend. It's North Dakota politics, you know. It's very Republican. And I wish you the best. Everybody go click on and go check that out. But come on. National DSA fundraiser call for Chris Rabb Tuesday night. Here's a promo I filmed and edited over the weekend for it. Nice. Now we're talking.
You got a big wig, making it happen.
Right. Yeah. Hey, everybody. My name's Kareem El Rafai. I'm a member of DSA's National Political Committee, and I'm a New York City DSA member.
Hey, I'm Eleanor. I'm also a New York City DSA member and a member of the National Political Committee. I'm also one of the field co-chairs in New York's electoral working group. We came out from New York to canvass for Chris because it's so important that we elect an incredible slate of socialists all over the country. It's all about building the movement, you know, getting like excitement about things like Medicare for all, affordability, and making sure that we're spending our money on improving the lives of people here at home rather than bombing people abroad. And that's something that has resonated everywhere that I've canvassed across the country so far. And it's just important that we're out here.
I was really moved.
I think one of the things I would say about the crisis that we're in right now is there is a tremendous opportunity, but there's also a lot of really stupid shit. And I have to say that this weekend pissed me off a lot because how do I put this? You are not an island. You're not, and I'm not saying you. I'm just saying, I'm using the royal you. I'm using plural you, okay? I was talking about you as an individual. I'd say thou, okay? We're going to say you. I mean plural you right now, okay? And your algorithm is fucking your brain up. And you are addicted to your phone, okay? That is happening. And I need you to be smart. And obviously that is a useless thing for me to say. So I'm trying to come up with alternative ideas. And the answer is like I think a lot about the 2028 presidential campaign, and AOC in particular. And there are two aspects of how I think about it. One, which is AOC is by far and away our best positioned leftist to be president of the United States ever, outside of Bernie Sanders and his efforts. And she's really well positioned with the Democratic Party base, right? Like people that I identify with as Democrats like AOC. She's done a good job of navigating that world. The problem that we have is she's not that good at the internet. and I know why. I did a post yesterday, and I wrote it. I tried to put every idea into a tweet, and I feel like a lot of people have no idea what I'm talking about, so I want to explain it because I think it's actually very important. A lot of people replied to me, but I don't think they read what I was saying. They don't really understand what I was saying, so I'm going to explain it. The main problem people have with AOC is that she refuses to act in the Schmittian way that this era demands. No one cares about the details of the policy she supports or the vote she's made. They want her to see her yelling red-faced at our enemies. That's what Marjorie Taylor Greene is good at. And this, I legitimately think you cannot disagree with this point. I don't think it's possible to disagree with this point unless you're a liar. Or you don't know what I mean by Schmittian way. Schmidt is one of who is called basically Hitler's jurist, or, you know, like the philosopher of the Third Reich, right? And he wrote a very, very influential book on politics. I wanna bring it up because it's actually really important. What the fuck was the book called? The book was like on politics. What the fuck was the book? Am I forgetting the book's name? Oh, there it is. The Concept of the Political. Okay, Jesus Christ. This is probably... Okay, this is the book I'm talking about. This book explains our political era. It also explains the political era of the 30s. Now, I'm not saying that I'm a Schmittian. I'm not saying fascism is good or anything like that. I'm saying that the ideas behind this are what social media is organized around. Okay? Social media is organized around these ideas, which is basically that, let me see here. I don't have a good the summary sucks. But basically it explains the idea. This fucking summary blows, but it explains the idea that we organize ourselves around concepts of us versus them. That's how we think. And it's bad. This is a very bad thing. This is how fascism works. And in the online space, nobody's talking about AOC in a materialist way. They are not. They're talking about her as a member of the outgroup. If you are a online leftist radical, you're self-described, and you're in your social media bubble, you think of AOC as a capitulating compromiser who represents everything that's wrong with the failures of the left to gain power because they were just so willing to play nice with Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden. And if only they had been more antisocial and more interpersonally confrontational and more loud and more angry, they would have won. Now, I got to tell you something, chat. That is not left-wing analysis. That is, quite frankly, liberal or perhaps even fascist analysis. And that's what social media promotes. That's what social media promotes. And this is what AOC doesn't get. This is what AOC is actually not good at, which is, if that's the way it works, then you have to position yourself as against our enemies, right? Ro Khanna understands this better than her. Even though he sucks dick, he knows how to position himself against the enemy. Even though his policies and his votes are 1,000,000 times worse than AOC's, and it's not even close. The way he positions himself publicly and in social media is it's easier to support. And in the Concept of the Political by Schmidt, when I say Schmittian times, he basically argues that we have what's called the friend-enemy distinction, okay? And for a lot of people, they have AOC in the enemy distinction, and that's fucking stupid. I would actually say that if you think AOC is an enemy, you're dumber than dirt, and you don't understand reality even a little bit, and you don't have a materialist analysis at all. Now, what people are mad about AOC is that she made a distinction where she said voting for a centrist Democrat to stop Donald Trump would be a good idea. right? That was basically, that's AOC's betrayal. AOC's betrayal is, I oppose these bad things. However, Joe Biden or Kamala Harris would be less bad than Donald Trump, and we've got to defeat Donald Trump. So I'm supporting those people. That's basically the nub of the matter, right? Everything else flows from that decision. She put Kamala Harris and Joe Biden in the friend category, where online leftists want to put them in the enemy category. And that includes me, because they are, right? I think she's wrong on that. I think that was a mistake. I think it didn't help them because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were so unpopular and so disgusting that AOC doesn't have the pool to overawe materialist analysis, which she was stupidly did not get. They were fucking toast. This is what worries me about AOC. It's not so much that what she did, like, I understand why she did what she did. It's perfectly rational. The arguments are perfectly rational. Lesser evil voting is perfectly rational in an individualized argument. But we're beyond that now. Fascism is not going to be stopped by legislative compromise. It has to be viciously and thoroughly opposed. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are incapable of doing that, right? But that's a tactical disagreement, right? It's not some sort of moral opprobrium that needs to attach for her for all time. But so many people think of politics as a personal branding exercise. And I think a lot of people, I just don't think they understand what the fuck I'm saying. Like, I don't think people get it. It's like, and I don't think, nobody understands the world they live in. Like, and I'm not trying to be arrogant here. It's just like, people think social media is like organic or something. Or like, what they see in their feed is like a representation of the world or something. They don't have the ability to kind of recognize that they're being served a product here to get their engage, and it's tailored to you to get you to engage. That includes me, by the way. I'm aware of this. I'm self-aware of this, which is why I could yell at AOC, but at the end of the day, go back to my analysis and be like, what's the other alternative? There isn't an alternative. I'm happy if the alternative arises, but I think the problems with AOC are tactical, she's not our enemy. She's making tactical decisions or presentation distinctions that I don't agree with or think are effective. That's different than an enemy. But a lot of the online left has been fucking psyoped into thinking that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a friend and AOC is an enemy. You've been fucking psyoped, man. You've been psyoped. Your brain is rotten. Your brain is stupid. What do you say to coworkers that Gavin has a better chance than AOC? Here's what I'll say. If your coworkers vote for Gavin Newsom, I'll do everything I can to destroy the Democratic Party. And if you think I was, and the online left agrees with me, and that it'll cause a civil war, the Democratic Party will probably collapse. So I just want you to understand that not only is he unacceptable, like, if you want to have a civil war in this country, try to nominate Gavin Newsom. Like, I'm not saying that I'm encouraging a civil war. I'm saying that he'll fail and will be put into such an extreme condition with fascism on its 12th year that there's going to be some sort of balkanization. Like, voting for Gavin Newsom is voting for balkanization. It's voting for war. It's not like safe. It's the most risky choice. It's probably even more risky than just being a Republican. Honestly, I would encourage your friend to just join the Republican Party, because Gavin Newsom, I want all the Zionists to go to the Republican Party, right? I don't want any Zionists at our party. That's the friend-enemy distinction that matters, right? Are they a Zionist or not? And I don't use the overly expansive sense of Zionist where it's like, have you ever done anything to help the Democrats? Well, now you have officially become Zionist, because the Democratic Party doesn't mean anything. The Democratic Party doesn't mean any fucking thing. And that's another problem that people have. They don't get that. They don't understand that. That's also why AOC doesn't work with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think she was a psycho who stalked AOC to get into office. So that, of course, January 6th, where she had to hide her office to avoid being murdered. Yes, of course. Because people, I think there was a thing I want to show you guys, but like, all right, let's look at this. Her voting record isn't even that good, man. Okay, this Canadian Marxist, how's Canadian politics going, by the way? You have a fucking Nazi liberal who supports the Gaza genocide, but how's that going? Fucking Canadians, man. Canadians not being allowed to talk about American politics is a bit much AOC would fucking be the most left-wing politician in all of Canada. What the fuck are you saying? Get the fuck out of here with this nonsense. Jesus Christ. I have very little tolerance for Canadians posturing on American politics. I really don't. I really don't. Like, if you want to be a comrade and like help us along, that's cool. But the moment you're like, actually, she's not that good. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Shut the fuck up. You don't. And I'm tired of pretending that you do. You don't. Guys, it's not very good, guys. It's not very good. It's not very good. Guys, she only got a 97.1. She's only got a 97.1. Guys, Ilhan Omar has a 97.3. My queen, my glorious queen, Ilhan Omar. You are the best, most perfect rep. AOC, ew, fucking terrible, worst, sellout, oh God, worst person ever. By the way, Ilhan Omar endorsed Kamala Harris too. That's how you know you've been psyoped. Because none of these fucking losers say shit on Ilhan Omar. By the way, I'm not saying that you should. I'm saying that you've been psyoped on AOC because AOC is clearly the person who represents the left. You've been psyoped. Get your shit together. By the way, it doesn't mean that AOC is perfect. It just means that this kind of there's a reason why I am standing 10 toes down on this. Even though it's bad for me, I stand 10 toes down defending AOC, and I defend her to fucking Hasan. And I said, like, I push Hasan. I'm like, you gotta defend AOC, man. You have to stand 10 toes down. This is algorithmic bullshit. It's the same thing happening to you, and you've got to stand against it. The main so going to this tweet, this is like what's happening. The main problem people have with AOC is she refused to act the Schmittian way that this era demands. Basically, AOC needs to treat more establishment Democrats as enemies. That's what people want. They want her to put them in the out group. And then there is this kind of like, the thing about Marjorie Taylor Greene, if you think Marjorie Taylor Greene sacrificed anything, you are stupid. I'm sorry. You are stupid. Marjorie Taylor Greene was just dim. She thought that Donald Trump would hate the Jews like she does, that he would be a Southern Georgian white racist redneck KKK supporter. That's what she's just dumb, okay? That's it. She thought Donald Trump was her. He's not. He's a Manhattanite, cosmopolitan New Yorker who is a fucking fraud. He's not a KKK white nationalist Georgian Baptist, okay? Like she is. She's dumb. She thought that Donald Trump would turn against the Jew because the Jew got unpopular. That's what she thought. She didn't realize, or she was too dumb to notice, that he was taking bribes with both hands from the Zionists. So she was out there saying, oh man, people online don't like Israel. Therefore, Donald Trump is going to not like Israel. She didn't think she was making some sort of sacrifice, dumbass. But then she got her skull cracked by Donald Trump and she ran away from the fight. That's what happened. She's not brave. She's just really stupid. And so if you're like, well, Marjorie Taylor Greene gave up more, blah, 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 blah. She didn't know she was giving up shit, you fucking idiot. And I'm sorry, if you're one of those people who fell for this psyop, I apologize, but I'm going to have to tell you did this. And this is just the way I am. I'm never going to like adopt dumb takes just because it goes along to get along. I'd rather offend everyone stupid than have bad takes to appeal to you. Now, other people will, and they will continue to succeed. I'm just not built that way. I'd rather grow slow with smart people than fast with dumb people, because that shit is fragile, it'll implode. The moment you try to tell if you just build yourself up by appealing to the most idiotic Twitter trends, then your shit will implode whenever you try to do anything with it. I'm all for the defense of AOC. I just fear there are those who are passionately support her, and we will have a community of AOC stands when we can passionately support her but constructively criticize when it's needed. All right, how do I explain this? You're not on the team, bro. I mean, legitimately, if we want to criticize AOC in a constructive manner, it must be done collectively. Your random fucking tweets are not constructive shit. Unless you, I mean, I have literally hundreds of thousands of followers. If I tweet at her, it probably is not going to make that much of a difference. It might piss her off. Maybe if it's with like everyone else, it might cause her to reflect on something. But like being a 200 follower Andy and going into every time someone mentions AOC and saying shit like this, her voting record isn't even that good, man. She voted with Ted Cruz and Tom Cotton to sanction China. She voted to crush the rail workers strike. Being one of the best politicians in the U.S. Congress is like being one of the best demons in hell. It alone should not warrant support. Okay, this is what I'm talking about, right? This is cherry picking and bullshit propagandizing in the same, editorializing and cherry picking, right? Editorializing and cherry picking. Here is the objective reality, right? We can just go through literally thousands of votes, okay? And she's always right. In 8 years, you'll go and say, like, there's a couple votes that I tactically disagree with, which is weapons for the Indo-Pacific region. That's one of the votes that Wap Goblin brought up. Nobody voted against it. Even Rashida Tlaib, our queen, voted present. I disagree. Honestly, I think that the way things are going, that this vote would go a different way with a lot of these people. I actually think we've made progress on this point. Okay, but notice how there's nobody, right? Okay, what's another one they mentioned? What's another one they used? I'm trying to find. Restore tariffs on Chinese solar parts. No. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to figure out what was the other one they want to cite. Oh, the railroad strike. Okay. Literally, this is a bad vote, right? This is a bad vote that Ilhan Omar and AOC made. It's a bad vote. I disagreed with it at the time. I thought it was stupid. Only 4.9% of the Democrats voted against this. Why is this? Why is this? The answer is that the railroad union themselves indicated that they didn't care about this vote. The railroad union themselves said they didn't actually stand 10 toes down and declare that they were going to do anything. They were like, we don't really like it, but it's okay if you vote for it. That's why that happened. Oh, we're going to continue to get more negotiations with the Biden administration. Now, this was a mistake. I think it was wrong. I think they were wrong. I thought they should have confronted the Biden administration wholeheartedly on this issue and put them to the test, right? I felt like their demands were eminently achievable and inexpensive, and they should have gotten them all. But this really comes from her talking to the union leaders who were fucking weak and going along with them. I think that was a mistake that Ilhan Omar and her made. Again, is AOC anti-union? Is AOC a strike breaker? Right? Like, all of this is nonsense. It's rhetoric. And that's what social media rewards you. It rewards you for taking an issue where I disagree with AOC on this vote. I would have voted with Rashida Tlaib, but it wasn't like some sort of like strike broken thing. Oh, the other thing with Chris Smalls. Listen. I'm not here. Like, if you noticed, I didn't comment on this because I have a philosophy. Sometimes the best thing you could say is fucking nothing because there's no clean way. Listen, Chris Smalls was a great, face of the Amazon labor union when it was trying to start off and get organizing because he was unique and individual and he was a face of the movement. But I do think that there is a risk with kind of celebrity organizing in the sense of like, now we're not going to listen to what the union members want. We're going to just listen to what this individual guy does. And I feel like there has to be a two-way street of being a left-wing leader. You could have celebrity, you could have fame, but you also have to be accountable. And once you're like removed from that accountability to an organization and you start acting as a free agent, then you have the responsibility to be a comrade, right? You have the responsibility to be a comrade. You don't have the responsibility to just be shooting from the fucking hip. And I don't feel like he treats his position of his position of fame in an appropriate manner. And I don't think that I don't think it looks good. So there's that. I don't know what else to say. Is you got to be less messy when you're a leader. You got to be less messy when you're a leader of an organizing space. And it's a bummer, right? We want authenticity. We want normal people. but you've got to rise to the occasion, you know? And I feel like there's definitely some failure to in that area. What did he do? He's just messy. He's just not disciplined in his messaging, and you know, how long can you coast off of one organizing event, right? Like, it is what it is. Sorry, but his anger is justified. He said AOC didn't do or say shit when he was imprisoned by the IDF. Well, listen, I'm not here to litigate that, because again, you're allowed to dislike people for your own reasons, right? But it's very obviously, how do we say this? I'm trying to be nice here, which is power is what gives you relevance. And when people get pushed out and they're used to having attention and relevance because of power, there's two ways that you could react. The first is you can go, okay, I understand that my relevance was related to the fact that I represented a collective, and I have a responsibility to that collective. Or you could be narcissistic and think, I'm the fucking greatest. I'm the best. I should be famous. I'm entitled. And whenever I start to sniff that, I'm done. Let's just say that my sensory molecules have hit, and I'm disengaging from that space. Maybe I'll be, but I don't want to condemn him either, right? Like, I'm not here to like call the guy the biggest piece of shit or anything. It's just, I don't feel like right now that there's anything that's being done or said that's helping, right? Interestingly, scientists who train biological neurons for data processing punish them by ignoring them. Yeah. When will you use MS Paint to be more like Professor Jiang, Stock Guy, and all the other guys who seem to talk from a level of authority simply because they have a prop to write their thoughts on? Oh, I mean, that's such a good point. That is such a good point. I should do more board shit because it puts people... The reason why that works is because your brain is used to accepting uncritically what is taught to you in a classroom setting. Because it started when you were 5. And from 5 to 18... You were inculcated to basically accept things from the point of view of a student whenever somebody stood in front of you with a whiteboard or a blackboard. All right, what was I saying? I got distracted by like a completely stupid point, and I don't even really feel like that Chris Small stuff. I'm honest to God, like, this is just silly, right? This is splashing around for anything you can to try to discredit AOC. And I'm not going to say that I'll block you over this kind of stuff, but I will say that if you post this kind of stuff to me, you're definitely going down in my estimation of intelligence quite a bit. Like, I am kind of going like, okay, this person has been psyoped by Elon Musk to hate AOC. That's embarrassing. And by the way, again, the thing about politics is it separates people into different categories of usefulness, right? Like, at the end of the day, this is really about power of the state, right? And accomplishing goals in the real world. I don't give a shit what you think of me. Give me state power. Call me a fucking whatever you want. Give me the power of the state. And if you're not on board with that, then you're probably not very useful to me. Okay, what else? Problem with AOC is that she enables genocide, lies about it, and actively defends complete monsters. There's a reason centrists have come to her defense. Okay, so what we have here is AOC endorsed Kamala Harris over Donald Trump. That's what this really comes down to. AOC endorsed a campaign for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump. That's what this is, right? Which to them is enabling genocide because AOC said, hey, Donald Trump will be worse for the world than having Kamala Harris, and I think you should vote for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump. Does anybody disagree with that argument, that Kamala Harris would have been better than Donald Trump on anything? I think that's a pretty normal opinion. I don't think that opinion is incorrect. Now, I personally argued vociferously against doing what AOC did, because I felt like all that would happen is she would damage her reputation and we wouldn't have any influence over Biden or Harris anyway. So even though you're right that they are the lesser of two evils, you're just going to damage your own reputation and you're going to be associated with the crimes of the Biden administration, and they're not going to give you any influence. In fact, I had a very long discussion about this during the DNC, where I made this exact point. And I argued against voting for Harris because she wasn't indicating that the left had any influence over her. And I thought it was poor politics on behalf of Bernie and AOC and Ilhan Omar to endorse Kamala Harris. And I sided with Rashida Tlaib in the sense of hanging back and saying, Kamala Harris hasn't earned my support. I was in the Rashida Tlaib camp, right? That's what I said. However, I don't think, and by the way, I was completely right. I was completely right about that. But here's the other thing that I'm completely right about. It's who gives a fuck at this point? Is AOC calling it as a genocide? Is AOC against giving weapons to Israel? Is that what she's doing right now? Is that what she's campaigning on? The answer is yes. So if your complaint is really that she's a Democrat at all, or she made that calculation, which anyone could have made, that's a different point than saying she enables genocide, right? If she enables genocide, then every single one of us enable genocide, because she's actively fighting against the politicians and movements that are about supporting Israel, right? I voted for a Democrat or two down ballot because I didn't want a Republican to win that local position. That's the Democratic, like, if I paid my taxes, I just sent in a fucking massive tax check to the IRS back on tax day. That money went to fund a genocide. I didn't refuse to pay taxes. Why did I not refuse to pay taxes? Because I'm being coerced. If I don't pay my taxes, I'll go to jail. And I'm only saying this because you have to separate out the realities of what's actually being said here, which is there is no anti-Zionist alternative to AOC that has a chance of being president of the United States. And so when we criticize AOC, it has to be the way you would criticize someone on your team. How do you criticize someone on your team? You treat them with the benefit of the doubt. You care about their morale. You care about their reputation. You care about leadership and mutual cooperation. You treat them like they're coming from good faith. But we have become addicted to social media fucking speak, where I need to use the most arresting, extreme arguments to get attention, right? The idea that AOC and Tom Cotton have a similar voting record, and I'm just going to tell you this, is mentally insane. I don't know what, is in the air in Canada now that you have a deregulating neoliberal that has 60% approval rating. But that's batshit. It's stupid. And you're embarrassing yourself. This is why Plattner is crushing it. He codes as authentically pissed off. Ro Khanna, the reason why Ro Khanna is doing well is because he's approaching politics in this way. He's focusing on calling out enemies. And the problem with AOC is she has a very feminine, and I'm sorry for putting it this way, but it is a good way of describing it. She has a very feminine way of talking about politics, which is seeking to arrive at consensus, seeking to arrive at noticing and caring for the marginalized. It's not martial. It's not confrontational. It's not red-faced. It is like, hey, we need to care about this, and we need to look after that. We have to solve this problem. We have to care about this. It's not red-faced, like screeching about how we need, which I do, by the way. That's me calling myself out. And what I'm asking you to do is get a grip, right? Like, if you want to hold AOC supporting Kamala Harris over her head as a way of distinguishing her from an even further left-wing candidate that's even better, that would be fine by me, right? Like, I would think that's campaigning. Like, if Rashida Tlaib launched her campaign for president and AOC launched her campaign for president, and you wanted to campaign on behalf of Rashida Tlaib because you think she's a more pure expression of your politics, that would be cool by me. But that's not what's being done here. What's being done here is this kind of like, how do I put it? There's a word for this. I can't think about what the word is, but basically what I'm trying to describe is it's this kind of aimless malice. It doesn't have a purpose. The better phrasing for that is an empathetic approach. The reason why I described it as feminine is because she's a young woman and they attack her for that. Red face can come across as unhinged. That's not how she rolls. Exactly. She's a woman. Whenever a woman gets mad and yells, that triggers misogynistic responses. Like, that's just reality. Why do you guys like to play dumb? We are not defending Marjorie Taylor Greene because she's Marjorie Taylor Greene. We're defending her because of the specific position she has on a specific issue. AOC is wrong, period. What is AOC wrong about that Marjorie Taylor Greene is right about? What is Marjorie Taylor Greene's position? By the way, Marjorie Taylor Greene's position is now irrelevant. She's not in Congress. She quit her job rather than fight. She's a fucking loser. She's not freeing Palestine because she tweeted. That's what's one of the things that's really funny about this is you guys think your tweets are the same thing as a congressional vote. You legitimately think your tweets are the same thing as a vote in Congress. You gotta help me out here, chat. You gotta be better than that. You gotta know what the fuck you're saying. What the fuck is wrong with you? So all AOC has to do to win back the left is more public displays of bluster? Yes. Yes. Actually, yes. If AOC was coming out there and going, Benjamin Netanyahu is a genocidal war criminal and we've got to put him in prison, but people would be going, based, retweet, based. If she came out and said, we should investigate members of the Biden administration for participating in the genocide, people would be like, based, unironically based. If you got, and then, again, that's really what it's about. But the other thing is, again, these are not neutral platforms. These are platforms that are being engineered, and AOC is one of the main targets. That's just a fact. And if you don't agree, you're stupid. People want to see consistency and not performative nonsense that is never there when it matters most. I think one of the worst parts about talking about politics is that everyone's 12. Everybody's 12 years old. We got our asses beat. If you're a leftist, I need you to accept this. We got our asses beat in 2020. We got our asses beat even harder in 2022. We lost like two major national recognized figures, Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush, from Zionist primaries. We got our asses torched. Nina Turner got defeated by a fucking loser, Chantel Brown, because Chantel Brown got millions and millions of dollars from Israel. I talked to AOC about how the Israeli lobby was intervening in Democratic primaries to attack the left in like 2019 or 2021. I don't remember, whichever, or 2020, like whatever the special election that Nina Turner lost. We fucking lost. Why are you beating your chest like we won something and you got betrayed? We got fucking owned. Why do people pretend like we won and we got betrayed? We got fucking owned. We lost. Why are you pretending like we won and you got betrayed? You fucking loser. Stop coping. Jesus Christ. What is going on? Are you 12? I think that's actually the worst part. The worst part of this is like, we got owned. We lost a lot. And then people are like, well, AOC didn't pass single payer because the majority of Democrats don't support single payer. The majority of members of Congress do not support single payer. The majority of senators do not support single payer. The president doesn't support single payer healthcare. AOC cannot achieve that. What the fuck are you talking about? People who oppose single payer do not just automatically lose their primaries. If our position was powerful enough to get votes on a regular, like if people were scared to come out against Medicare for all, if that was such an unpopular position, they actually lost votes over it, then you'd have a different condition. We don't live in that condition. People are in favor of Medicare for all when asked, but they're not going out there and punishing people that are against it. That's what you don't get. And like, maybe it's my fault. Maybe I haven't explained this enough. Maybe I haven't gone out there and said like, hey, we're not powerful enough with the masses. Bernie Sanders can't go and point at somebody and say they're an enemy of the left and get them defeated out of a primary. We're not that strong yet. Regular people are not acting the way that you are, I don't know, fantasizing that they will act one day. Mike, the problem is that I can't imagine a world where AOC says Netanyahu is a genocidal war criminal who needs to be arrested. You know who I do imagine saying that beat for beat? Tucker Carlson. That's exactly what I was talking about with the concept of the political. The friend-enemy distinction. What you're saying is the fascist is more comfortable. Okay. Here, it's in this. The key thinkers of contemporary far-right politics are claimed by Mark Sedgwick to share four key elements, namely apocalypticism, fear of global elites, belief in Carl Schmitt's friend-enemy distinction, and the idea of metapolitics. That is what you're talking about. You're saying that Tucker Carlson is going to name Jews the enemy of the West. And you're absolutely fucking right. So that's what I was saying. Like when I said AOC fails because she doesn't act in that way. She doesn't say Zionists are our enemy. That's what people want. People want her to come out there and say Zionists are our enemy and they must be destroyed. That's what they want. That's what they have. You know, they're so angry about their own impotence, let's be completely honest, to stop the genocide that's being done in our name. We all feel this psychological distress of, I can't stop this genocide. My tax dollars are killing kids and my community's not being taken care of. We have that psychological need to like deal with that conflict, that anger, that frustration over our own impotence to stop it, right? And so what do? We project onto somebody else that actually they're not doing enough because they're not speaking like I am. And if only AOC did XYZ thing that I do, tweet angrily, well, then we would stop the genocide. I mean, guys, that's the internet now. That's the internet now. And I recognize that there are constraints, but people don't care about that because they're 12. They're 12. That's why anarchist thought is so popular on the American left, because you're 12. You can just hand wave all the hard parts. It'll all just happen all at once. We'll do a complete social and economic revolution all at once in one rupture. Nobody has to organize anything. The masses will just rise up spontaneously. They'll sweep it all away and we'll move on. That's all you have to do. You don't actually have to, like, I don't know, stand in front of a spreadsheet and design a logistic flow of arms and equipment to fight the fucking counter-revolutionaries. That's boring, right? That's why we have this type of politics in America, because it's not, the left is infantile. I mean, it has been infantilized into childlike beliefs. They have been promoted. And the way that AOC is fixated on is an extension of that. And I think AOC is way too right-wing for me. Way too right-wing for me. But what I also understand is it doesn't matter what I think. I'm a fucking outlier. I need to be not an outlier in order for that to matter. And unfortunately, there's no desire to have politics. It is, a lot of people spend a lot of time talking about something that they don't engage in. I think liberals, leftists expect less from MTG because she's portrayed as a cartoon character. She said Israel's bad because she's an anti-Semite. And she's a bog standard, North Georgia white redneck, fucking racist anti-Semite from a long line of KKK members. Like, what the fuck are you saying? She's just saying Jews bad. It's not exactly a fucking genius level political move. Okay, she's just saying Jews bad after she quit her job out of fucking uselessness. If you want to defend Thomas Massie, that's one thing. I think Thomas Massie staying in office and voting against this shit, voting against the Epstein list, voting against the wars, arguing against the Zionists, and at least staying in office and fighting the Republicans, that's one thing. But to just quit in the middle of your term to post, give me a fucking break. She's not going to fuck you, Mike. Like, this is legitimately a sign of somebody who's 12. The misogyny and just the brainlessness of this position. I just explained. Does anybody even know what I mean by this? Did anybody engage with it? Like, one person did, and I read their post, and I argued with, and I disagreed with them. Now, the main problem AOC is that she's a simp for centrist. A couple dumbass crackers glazing MTG is really sucking up a lot of attention. Hell, I'm starting to think y'all might have gotten together and planned it. Simp for centrist is when AOC endorses defeating Donald Trump. Oh my God. Okay. She's good at being insane and unlikable and untrustworthy. But if you want to ride with one of the most unpopular Congress people in the USA, I guess go for it. But it speaks a lot about your character. Ride with someone so generally awful and sweet. This guy must be like, he must be like a right winger. Okay. Oh no. Okay. Okay. They're a centrist. Okay. They're a K-hiver. AOC is much more popular than any of your politicians. Okay. My problem with her is that she's a Zionist who uses socialist talking points. Oh, someone replied to my comment with an actual thoughtful point. That's exactly how Bernie 2016 took off like a rocket. He was yelling at the Democrats. AOC is too scared to do that. Therefore, she won't take off. People are pissed beyond belief. They want a rep who's pissed too. AOC will never pull off pissed. It's not in her. It's so funny because, like, she literally did that. That's why she's in office. What happened is everyone else fucking lost. I think one of the things that really pisses me off is like Jamal Bowman, Corey Bush, Nita Turner, they all fucking lost. And so they became irrelevant. The only reason you even know who AOC is because she was one that won. Bernie was saying, I'm tired of hearing about her damn emails. AOC will not team up with Marjorie Taylor Greene to sanction Israel because of identity politics, but she teamed up with Ted Cruz and Tom Cotton to call for more sanctions on China. Do you legitimately think AOC is going to be the most hawkish on China? Are you fucking... I think, like, ultimately, again, politics is not really about achieving anything to most people. And that's also why I'm a vanguardist. Like, honestly, I gotta be honest, I don't think convincing all of you guys how to think about politics is going to make us better. I think it's a waste of your brain power, to be honest with you. I think you should just cognitively offload that task to me. Unironically, I think the world would be a better place if you cognitively offloaded strategy and tactics to me and Hasan, and you just went along with whatever we fucking said. I'm being completely honest. I'm being completely honest with you. I mean, I'll happily explain my positions to you, but I'm just like honestly, I don't think explaining shit, like Max Blumenthal's parents are literally one of the most virulent anti-left Clintonites. That's why we know who he is. He's a fucking Clinton Nepo baby, right? Like, well, give me a fucking break, dude. You rise and sleep from the Clinton wing, and now you post nonstop hate against AOC, just like your parents do. What a surprise. You all managed to unify in your hatred of the actual left-wing politician that's on offer. In favor of what? Nothing. Nihilism. I think the one thing that I would ask you is, what am I accomplishing? You sound like you believe you guys are the only way. I believe that we're one of the few people that actually understand politics in a serious way that are doing any commentary. I think there's very few people that actually understand politics in a serious way that are doing commentary online. Like, I don't think there's that many people that are that are leading us towards any kind of like intelligent shit. Like, I'll give you an example. There are people saying draft Jon Stewart who are anti-AOC. I have people saying, oh, I like John Ossoff, who are anti-AOC. What do you want me to say? Like these people are a joke. Like, these people are far to the right, and it's not close. It's like really, really not close. Like, can you imagine? When's the last time you saw somebody go into John Ossoff's voting record, Mr. 27th best Palestine record in the Senate, with an F score, voting with the Palestinians 29% of the time? Doesn't sponsor the UNRWA Emergency Funding Act, sponsors the United States Israel Defense Partnership Act, is a fucking sponsor of the United States Israel Defense Partnership Act. Like, what are we doing? What are we saying? What are you doing? An actual Zionist! 27th most left-wing voting record on Palestine! But Mike, I'm sure his record with voting in the Senate on all left-wing issues is really good. No! He's the 38th most left-wing Democrat. Doesn't co-sponsor raising the minimum wage, anti-Medicare for all, anti-college for all. What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? He sucks! He's worse than Chuck Schumer. What are we doing? That's why I think what I think, okay? Because it's vibes. People are acting on vibes only. And you have and right-wingers have polluted AOC's vibes intentionally since 2018, and you fell for it. You fell for it. It's embarrassing. Now, it's not to say I don't have criticism of her. I criticize her all the fucking time. But all the criticisms you guys do are dumb as shit. What do you want me to say? Criticize her better. AOC's up here with a 97% left-wing voting record. John Ossoff's down there with a 26, and you're saying, I don't know, John Ossoff, AOC. I don't know, John Ossoff, AOC. Oh, and then there's, on top of that, AOC is in a deep blue district. If she became president, it would have absolutely no effect on Congress. Meanwhile, John Ossoff is in the Senate. He's in a purple district, purple state. A purple state. So if he wins the presidency, we then have to do a special election in Georgia to fill his Senate seat, which is going to be a bunch of pissed off racists and Republicans rushing to the polls to elect whoever it is to stop the Democrats from having control of the Senate. John Ossoff is not only stupid, it's strategically dumb as fuck. So his policies are dog shit. He's not even that good of a speaker. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm a fucking bigot, but as a northern guy, every time I hear that southern drawl, I just get disgusted. I gotta be honest. I don't want to hear a white man with a southern drawl in my ear. I don't want to hear it. I don't. Especially when they're not a socialist. Okay? I don't want to fucking hear it. And most Pennsylvanians agree with me. He'll fucking lose. And like, it is what it is. I'm sorry. The Democrats, Lindsey Graham, I'm not a fan. It's just embarrassing. And again, maybe I'm an autistic spreadsheet guy, but like, are you fucking serious? And by the way, where's Ro Khanna? There he is. He's got an 84. Ro Khanna is pretty decent, except when it comes to voting for every crypto scam bill that comes up. He loves crypto scams, and he's voted for Israel funding directly too. He voted present on honoring Charlie Kirk, pussy, instead of no. Encourage more American weapons manufacturing and sales to other countries. Sell 14 acres of natural forest to private business and mineral rights. There he is voting against cutting the Iron Dome. I thought that was what made AOC the worst person in the planet. He voted against it too. What made AOC the worst person on the planet? He voted for it too. The Genius Act, the crypto stablecoin bailout, the Clarity Act, the pro-crypto bill with weak regulations. He voted to table the motion to impeach Trump. He changed the definition of accredited investor, aka, what is an accredited investor? Basically, it allows people with less money to be solicited for certain types of securities investments that are highly risky and require a high level of sophistication. It's a deregulation of financial investments in order to get more dumb people to fall for scams, basically. Require the DOJ to report targeted attacks on law enforcement. Overturn the crypto reporting rule. He loves crypto and he loves Israel. I mean, compared to AOC, right? Now, I'm not shitting on Ro. I like Ro. I actually like Ro. I'm only saying that, like, what are you doing? What are you saying? This is your champion? He's worse than AOC. Now, again, that's why I kept going back to the Schmittian point, right? The Schmittian point is basically people want you to do the friend-enemy distinction. They want you to be like, that person, those are our enemies. These are my friends. And for some people, being anti-Zionist is all it takes to be a friend. And I'm sympathetic to that. I am very... You don't understand how much I hate Israel. You don't understand how much I want to destroy the Zionist movement worldwide. You're right. Israel is a genocide settler colonial state, and it is my #1 issue. But I have discipline, and I've studied history. And if you hated apartheid South Africa, disdaining yourself from people that are publicly anti-apartheid to post a fucking screed on the wall or stand on a soapbox is not the same thing as votes against giving them money. Votes against, you know what I mean? I want to actually destroy Israel, not just talk about destroying Israel. Can you guys stop just spending your time talking about destroying Israel and actually get to the job of destroying Israel? And why AOC is certainly a imperfect vessel for that, she advances the goal. She advances the goal clearly. And you need to be fucking smarter, for the love of God. Now, AOC also needs to be better. This is where I'm going to criticize AOC. AOC needs to understand what world we're living in. We're living in the world of Carl Schmitt, friend-enemy distinction, concept of political fascism, where people have been trained by algorithms to do this us versus them, friend versus enemy mindset. And so she needs to put herself in the friend camp and start blasting our enemies. And if she doesn't do that, then she's going to get co-opted by the people that do, because people are angry and they want to target. From a European view, AOC is like Macron. That may be one of the most... Guys, I really don't want to be problematic. I was at high school in the 90s, okay? I'm literally biting my tongue right now. Please stop. You're going to get me canceled. All right, we are watching the Hasan reacting to the... I gotta watch... I gotta. And by the way, I'm not trying to yell at all of you guys. I'm really not. Okay? It's not that I'm just frustrated that people are getting tricked by this shit. I'm very frustrated that people are getting tricked by this. No, Hasanabi, it's like, AOC. You like reacted to the AOC thing. AOC is spitting. Yeah, here we go. I think this is the one.
We have to see here that...
No, this isn't it. This isn't it. This is the old one. No. The new one. Is it this? This is an hour. God damn it. Why is this clip so long? By the way, chat. Oh, this is... He did a TikTok. Is it this one?
Off of like every legislative action that AOC has done in her career, every legislative action that she's ever taken in her career, and then compare it to Marjorie Taylor Greene's track record, and you still think Marjorie Taylor Greene is actually better than AOC, you're genuinely a dumb person. I don't know what to even explain to you. Like, I don't even know how we can have a conversation at that point. I do give Marjorie Taylor Greene credit for being an unlikely ally in this issue. The problem with AOC is that there's so much misinformation, and people's brains shut off when they think about AOC on the left. We are far more ruthless
because they've been trained by the algorithm. Unironically, they've been trained by the algorithm to get rewarded for posting anti-AOC shit, and you get conditioned by the algorithm. It's like people will sometimes go like, "Oh, Mike, you're talking about Hasan," and it's like, yeah, because talking about Hasan is like one of the best ways to grow my channel, because Hasan is aligned with me politically. And when people who already like Hasan see that I align with Hasan, they're like, oh, this is someone else that I might want to try. And they watch me and they're like, oh, wow, okay, Mike has got his own perspective. He's his own guy. He's a cool guy. I like him too. It's just objectively a reward. And I could see that. I could be like, oh, okay, I spoke about Hasan. Hasan viewers came in. I grew. I should talk about Hasan more. I should link myself to Hasan more in the algorithm on Twitch. That'll help me grow. I'll reach audiences that are actually interested in what I'm doing. Like, do you understand? Like, that's just logic. But now when I'm making content, say for my YouTube, I'm like, you know, what should I post on my YouTube this week? Well, I had this video where I was talking about Hasan, where we were talking about some issue and I looked at a Hasan clip. Well, I should use that. I could talk about the issue I want to talk about. I can put my perspective out there, and I can link it directly to Hasan by reacting to a Hasan clip. Wow. And that video will do better. I mean, you can literally, I'll show you what I mean. Like, this isn't like some sort of super secret thing. If you just go to my channel, I post all sorts of stuff, right? Hasan and Micah what Obama is wrong. 3.6K views. I posted that yesterday, right? Oh, you should get an electric bike. 1.7, right? Micah's Joseph Hasan's new PA flow, the 8K. Again, my YouTube is small, but you get my point, right? I make fun of ContraPoints, 11K. Why is that getting more views? Because people want to see my take on ContraPoints. They're interested about that because there's a drama, there's a personality. So Vosh was wrong about sewer socialism, 7K. Oh my God, the Democrats did something, 3K, right? ContraPoints keeps attacking Hasan, 15K, right? The videos that do well on my channel are Hasan, ContraPoints, and talking about China, right? Oh, here's one. I called it. She's the next John Fetterman. This is one that has nothing to do with Hasan at all. Just me talking about John Fetterman. And but do you see what I mean? My interviews tend not to do that well, except for when I did Kat Abou-Ghazaleh, right? Here's a video I did on China that did well. This video sucks, by the way. I actually despise this video. It's not the editor's fault. It's my fault. The content that I put out in this video sucks, but it got 10K views. That's not bad, right? Kyle Kulinski embraces China maxing, 18K. Wow. Why did that do well? Because it combined a large content creator on the left with another topic of mine that does well. My Chinese videos do better. So for me, I'm thinking like, okay, I need to make videos about Hasan. I need to make videos with Kyle. I need to make videos about ContraPoints. I need to make videos about China. Like, that's literally what performs the best. When I can combine more than one of those at the same time, that's when I get over 10K views on my YouTube, which is a small YouTube, right? Here's me talk about Emiru, right? 23K. Hasan's Twitch ban makes it more powerful, 26K. Wow, Mike and Hasan reveal why Destiny hates Mike. Like, do you see what I mean? Like, it's very clear, right? It is what it is. It's just logic. So when I make videos, I notice what videos do well and what videos don't do well. And I go like, okay, in the future, I know that if I make a video related to Hasan, it's probably going to be above average. And then I will just automatically and subtly start making more videos that include Hasan, because that does better. That's how you get trained by the algorithm to change your content. Now, I have a very specific strategy where it's like, I use Hasan to talk about politics. I am not trying to just grow my channel by doing whatever. I want to make videos about what I want to talk about, but I'll use Hasan to help grow my channel so that I can make it more financially viable. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the reality of how it works. But it also works the other way, right? A lot of people got trapped into being anti-Hasan. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, right? Adepanada started making videos critical of Hasan, right? And me, apparently, right? And when you know, and so then it is, oh, Bernie Sanders is a Zionist. Here's a Hasan video. The left is dumb about AI. Okay, apparently this is a pro AI video. Mass murder is based. That's what I said, chat. I said mass murder is based. Attacking me, attacking FD Signifier, attacking Hasan, attacking FD Signifier. He killed baby's butt. Hasan Piker says killing babies is okay. So now the videos are Hasan claims Jews invented Plattner's story I broke. Tucker Carlson embarrasses the left with Hasan picture in it. Compromise isn't winning. President AOC, what a joke. No criticizing Israel next to Mamdani's face. Punish ICE, forgive the troops, Hasan's face. Are there like any right-wingers being being criticized? Like, this is, I guess, making fun of Drew Pavlov. That's funny. But like, god damn, dude. But again, he started realizing that making anti-Hasan slop performs well. So then it becomes a major theme. Mike, he barely plays the videos he criticizes. He plays 10 seconds that makes a bunch of assertions while even playing the part he supposedly disagrees with. Yes, that's why I don't react to Adepanada, because he's a liar. And I don't reward people for being bad faith liars. I only participate in discourse with people that are actually honest. So I don't, once everybody proves they're a grifter and they're willing to like defame people to try to get them to react to them, I'm like, nah, fuck that guy. But my point is that the algorithm rewards certain types of interpersonal conflict, right? And especially anti-AOC content, because there's a lot of right-wing billionaires that want you to be anti-AOC. They want you to be anti-Zoran. They want you to be anti-populist left-wing. That's not a surprise.
List of people who are ideologically closest to us, not to say that she's like there, not to say that she's like 100% there, not to say that she's infallible, like working tirelessly for a ceasefire.
By the way, like I criticized the shit out of AOC when she did the working tirelessly for a ceasefire. When I watched the DNC, I unendorsed voting for Kamala Harris after her fucking DNC speech. I said as it was happening that it was fucking terrible. I rightfully I called it like the most right-wing speech when it was happening. Oh man, I wish I had it. I made a tweet where it's like, this is the most right-wing, something like that. I can't remember what I said. But like, basically, all that criticism was going on. And I thought it was a mistake for her to do that because I thought that those people were going to stab her in the back. I said that the same thing when they were like, oh, we endorse Biden, when everybody else was saying for him to drop out. One of them voted to arm Israel while it was committing genocide. The other didn't. I don't care about the rest of your record if you're helping with genocide. Yes, Marjorie Taylor Greene voted to arm genocide. AOC didn't. AOC has never voted to give Israel money. I'll say that again. AOC has never voted to give Israel money. Marjorie Taylor Greene has. Wait, did he put Marjorie Taylor Greene in here? Oh, there we go. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay, she wasn't sponsoring any of the pro-Palestinian bills. She voted present on resolution condemning the Boulder attack that conflates anti-Semitic violence and anti-Zionism. Okay, that's a based vote. Didn't vote on sanctioning the ICC. Didn't vote on allowing Trump to revoke nonprofit tax status from pro-Palestinian orgs. I guess she was just lazy that day. She voted yes to allow the Trump administration to revoke nonprofit tax status from pro-Palestinian orgs. She anti-BDS labeling legislation that rejects the state of Palestine's existence. She banned the State Department from citing Palestinian death tolls from the Gaza Health Ministry. She voted to sanction the ICC for the Netanyahu warrant. She voted for a resolution standing with Israel and promising more military aid. She condemned From the River to the Sea as anti-Semitic. She expanded sanctions on alleged Palestinian use of human shields. She allowed the Treasury Secretary to unilaterally designate and terminate tax exempt status of terrorist supporting organizations, which was targeting pro-Palestinian groups. She voted for a one-sided resolution claiming that Hamas was doing sexual violence while ignoring Israeli violence. She voted to ban PLO members from entering the U.S. She voted to condemn the testimony of Harvard, UPenn, and MIT's presidents when they were being attacked for allowing pro-Palestinian encampments. She required other countries to disclose any affiliation to terrorist groups, which was specifically targeting Palestine. She voted for the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. She declared that Hamas's unconditional surrender can save civilian lives. She affirmed Israel's right to exist, and denying that right is anti-Semitism. She banned funds for colleges with events that violate the pro-Israel IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. She voted for a resolution condemning Rashida Tlaib for saying "from the river to the sea." She condemned pro-Palestinian college students. She voted to sanction financial backers of Palestinian militant groups. She voted for the Meeks-McCall anti-Palestinian resolution. She prohibited moving the Jerusalem, a law prohibiting the move of the Jerusalem embassy. So she was in favor of that. She voted for a pro-Israel resolution declaring it not a racist or apartheid nation. She voted to strengthen the Abraham Accords with a special envoy position. She voted for the Abraham Accords. She voted for Iron Dome funding. Let's see. That's it. So again, what are you fucking talking about? Now let's go up to AOC. Did not vote for Iron Dome funding. So AOC, no, present, no. Yes, she voted for Israel's right to exist, which everybody voted for except Rashida Tlaib, who voted present. She voted against the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. She voted for this PLO thing, which only Rashida Tlaib voted against. Summer Lee and Ilhan Omar voted for it. So I need to know more about that bill. I don't know about that bill. She didn't. Spending bill that cuts UNRWA funding? No. No, from the river is the sea is anti-Semitic. No, for the resolution standing with Israel against Iran. No. And this is the reality. Oh, again, another thing that we're only we would rate this as bad. Okay, because Rashida Tlaib voted present on that on a resolution condemning the Boulder attacks. And this is the thing people fixate on: Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment. AOC went on to vote against the entire Israeli funding, but she voted against the Marjorie Taylor Greene amendment because she doesn't like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I criticized her for this. But if you actually look at Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's got a fucking miserable record. Meanwhile, AOC sponsors recognizing the Nakba, recognizing the genocide, Block the Bombs Act, UNRWA emergency funding, calling for humanitarian aid for Gaza. Like on issue after issue. It's just a ridiculous fucking, it's abysmal to compare the two. It's actually embarrassing.
Is a perfectly valid critique about what AOC has said and done, aligning with Biden and telling Biden not to drop out. These are
Marjorie
things.
Taylor Greene is capable of changing her mind. She's actually in the 98th percentile of Americans. AOC didn't have to change her mind because she was right the entire time. Now, AOC could have been more effusive and more aggressive against the Biden administration, and I yelled at her to be that way. But on the actual policies, she's with us 90-some% of the time. Marjorie Taylor Greene is with the pro-Palestinian movement 30% of the time. When it comes to all progressive issues, she's with us 97.1. It's like, what are we even saying?
That I have criticized. Other things that I've criticized were specifically to even allow Marjorie Taylor Greene to be the correct voice on defensive and offensive weapons distinctions in Congress, something that AOC is now on board with, right? These are problems, certainly, in the way that AOC communicates, but the way people treat it, they don't have a consistent framework that they analyze politicians on. It turns into, I don't like this person, and here are a million reasons why. Many of those millions are just exaggerations off of like what she has done that is worthy of criticism, that turns into red lines that people design for themselves, that they don't actually hold other people to the same standard.
And that kind of is the problem that we have, is we've got this left-wing movement that is in large part based off of social media vibes. And the problem is social media is corrupt and it is being influenced. And also there's a lot of incentive to posture as holier than thou because it gives you emotional distance from the crimes of your country. I don't give a shit what you think about these issues if you're an American, because we are all guilty. So the question is, how do we go from all of us being guilty to stopping this shit? And that is to support the politicians that are saying they're going to stop doing the thing. We're all guilty. Stop trying to think you have some sort of distance. You don't. We're all fucking guilty. But I'm not saying we're all guilty to relieve you of the pressure of doing something. You have to actually engage in politics in a constructive way to make it stop. And here's AOC in Philadelphia, in the bluest district, of the country, campaigning for an anti-Zionist. And what is the Democratic Party doing? What is Editor Mentum favorite Josh Shapiro doing? I think he had Josh Shapiro in the A tier, right? Isn't that what Editor Mentum had him in the A tier? Where was Editor Mentum's rating of Josh Shapiro? Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro has quietly tried to derail the left-wing congressional candidate championed by AOC. Shapiro and his team have privately told allies that he disapproves of Chris Rabb and has taken steps to block his path, according to 3 people familiar with the discussions. Shapiro has privately advised Philadelphia's building trades unions to avoid inadvertently helping Rabb, the lone progressive in the race, by attacking one of his center-left opponents. What they mean is one of his Zionist opponents. Does anybody think Chris Rabb is going to hurt the building trades? Does anybody think? So this is what's happening. Josh Shapiro is an IDF agent. He is a spy for Israel. And what is he spending his time doing? Attacking AOC. Get a fucking grip. Get a fucking grip. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro is quietly trying to derail a left-wing congressional candidate championed by AOC, Axios has learned. The May 19th primary is shaping up as an early test of strength for the 2 potential 2028 presidential campaign rivals. The contest is also a microcosm of the nationwide civil war between the Democratic Party's liberal and centrist wings. Ocasio-Cortez has endorsed Chris Rabb, a progressive firebrand state lawmaker from Philadelphia, who's running for a U.S. House seat in a competitive 3-way Democratic primary. Ocasio-Cortez is rumored to be visiting Philadelphia this month to campaign for Rabb. He's also fundraised for Rabb and posted on social media in support for him. Shapiro has not been publicly active in the race, as AOC has. But Shapiro and his team have privately told allies that he disapproves of Rabb and has taken steps to block his path. Rabb has been a thorn in Shapiro's side for years. In January, he wrote on Instagram, Governor Shapiro, stop state collaboration with ICE. Rabb spoke at a protest that day aimed at pushing Shapiro, a moderate, to the left on his approach toward immigration and customs enforcement. The rally was staged outside Shapiro's first stop on his book tour. That level of confrontation is rarely seen from Democratic state legislators toward the governor. Rabb also turned heads in 2022 when he didn't immediately shoot down calls from his supporters to challenge Shapiro in that year's gubernatorial primary. In the end, Rabb didn't run. Behind the scenes, Shapiro has privately advised Philadelphia's building trades unions to avoid inadvertently helping Rabb, lone progressive in the race, by attacking one of his center-left opponents, 2 of our sources told us. Why did this happen? Because one of the leaders, I think it was the leader of the laborers union, attacked the Zionist by saying she was controlled by Israel. Like the AIPAC candidate. One of the leaders of the building trades unions attacked her on like Facebook or something. And so Shapiro made the boss call to defend the Zionist. A video of Ala Stanford saying both trans athletes should be banned from sports if their hormones reach a certain level, only to follow up by saying that when black women rise, they cannot emasculate men in the process. What the fuck?
Now, specifically about your child, there are ways you can measure, and many of you may or may not remember the South African athlete. Oh my God. I personally believe that when you measure the hormone levels and they're over a certain level, it's not fair. And
I don't think it's fair that people can be taller than me and have more muscle mass than me. I don't think that's fair. When I was playing ice hockey on my travel team and I was trying to crash the crease and the 6'2", 230-pound defender fucking rocked me, that was unfair. I should have been allowed to skate in and stuff the puck into the goal. That was very unfair, the way they used their physical size to prevent me from doing this. Unfair. Like, listen. That was unfair as fuck, okay? Whenever I would go into the quarters to dig out the puck, the way that those larger players would hit me, body check me, that was unfair. It should have not been able to do that. That's not fair. Competitive sports are about physical differences. And hormonal differences are part of the reason why we have physical differences, because when somebody was in puberty, they got more growth hormone, and so they got taller, right? They had a hormonal difference in their genetic code that made them bigger. And you know what? It made them really tall. And that was pretty great for their high school football. But then their knee gave out at 35, and my knees are going strong, knock on wood. Okay? Knock on wood. I don't have lower back pain, knock on wood. Because I'm a shorter king. The littler dog lives longer, okay? The Great Dane lives 10 years. The Chihuahua lives 20 years. Give and take. Give and take. Okay? So to say that when a hormone level reaches a certain level, it's not fair, that's fucking insane. Now, obviously, and by the way, when we're talking about PEDs, this is what's so fucking ridiculous. But people are really taking testosterone to things. They're taking like 100 times the normal serum blood levels, right? They're taking like 6,000 and shit like that milligrams instead of like the 200 that you normally have. Okay, like they are fucking nuking their bodies with an insane amount of hormone. Okay, like give me a fucking break. This is so silly.
They should not be playing against your daughter, for example. But that's something that you can figure out. That's why people who don't have medical backgrounds shouldn't be bringing forth policy and legislation in this space because they don't understand it. You can scientifically define and let everybody have an even playing field. Now, about black men, as black women, especially when we rise, we cannot emasculate our men in the process. We cannot make them feel that they are not valued. So it's about jobs.
She's actually a right-winger. She's actually a right-winger. What is that guy's name? What's the right-wing creator who always says shit like this? It was like Dr. something. Dr. Umar. That's who I'm thinking of. I think she's literally a Dr. Umar listener.
It's about businesses, it's about how they support their families, and it's about making them feel whole, together, not apart.
God, there's so much, man, politics. Why are people so fucking weird? Oh my God, dude. I'm just like, hey, can we engineer like a solid like public transit, high-speed rail, public healthcare system, good college, good, good housing, public parks? Like, can we just like fix these engineering problems? And then I have to hear how you're being emasculated because a black woman is succeeding. Can you just fucking deal with your shit? Go to therapy. Oh my God. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for screaming, but Jesus Christ. I'm so tired of politics sometimes. Jesus fucking Christ. Jerk off. Go get a fucking... if you don't like your face, go get plastic surgery. Can you stop making everything about your fucking insecurities? My God. We're living in hell because everybody's so fucking caught up on some dumb shit that happened to them when they were 12. Grow up! Holy fucking hell. Jesus Christ. I don't know how to take it anymore, man. I really don't know how to hear it. Like, every time I hear a right-winger make any fucking point, it's always the dumbest shit. They're scared. Oh, I'm so scared. Oh, I feel so insecure. Grow up. Fuck me. Jesus. Despite his differences with Rabb, Shapiro has alliances with others on the left. He's backing Bernie Sanders' endorsed candidate Bob Brooks in the Philadelphia 7th Congressional District race. He's allied himself with Working Families Party city council member in Philly. AOC is the only potential 2028er to have endorsed Rabb. Ro Khanna and Chris Van Hollen also have. This is yet another DC story more focused on clicks than the reality on the ground in Pennsylvania, said Shapiro spokesman Manuel Bonder. Okay, I gotta find out who this fucking idiot is. Who the fuck is this? What a fucking hack. The governor has not endorsed or opposed anyone in this primary, and he looks forward to working directly with whoever wins in November. Governor Shapiro is focused on flipping Republican seats and winning up and down the ballot in November. Clash between Shapiro and Rabb touches on some of the Democratic Party's most combustible issues: Israel and anti-Semitism. Imagine if the online left got as mad about this as they do about defending Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't know why you guys don't get mad at this. I really don't. This is where, like, you know, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why the fuck do people not get mad about this, but they wake up and they tweet about AOC all day? What the fuck is going on with you? Why does anyone care about this woman again? Who are you talking about? Rabb is a staunch Israel critic. Shapiro, who is Jewish, supports the country but opposes Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's leadership. Look at that fucking propaganda. Look at how they're so desperate to try to blame Israel's genocide on Netanyahu. I honestly want Netanyahu to lose just so all this liberal Zionist claptrap gets fucking embarrassed. It gets exposed for how worthless it actually is. Some Democrats, including Stanford advisor Jay Hauser, have accused Rabb of anti-Semitism. Hauser is also a consultant for Shapiro. And yet, people are out there going, Marjorie Taylor Greene is better than AOC. Like, legitimately, I feel like there should be a shock collar installed on everyone's neck. I've seen the light. I feel like, I want to do what Superman did in Red Son. I really want to do what Superman did in Red Son. Rabb's critics have pointed to some of his comments, including a December social media post he recently disavowed, suggesting the Bondi Beach massacre on Jews was a false flag attack by Zionists. A Rabb spokesman blamed it on a former staffer, and his campaign said he strongly condemns anti-Semitism. The bottom line, many Pennsylvania Democrats think Rabb is within striking distance of winning a House seat. A recent poll found Rabb trailing Stanford by only 5 percentage points, while Street is behind both of them. The survey was conducted by a group backing Stanford. The winner of the Democratic primary this month is all but certain to carry the deep blue seat in November. It's not just almost certain, it's the bluest seat in the country. And where is AOC? She's standing on the side of the anti-Israel candidate. And her support is unfortunately weaker because of these distraction bullshits, lies about AOC. You guys are fucking stupid. Like, that's legitimately the reality. You're fucking stupid. If Israel is gonna fall, then America has to stop supporting it. Just like South Vietnam fell, or South Africa fell. If you want these fascist, these fascist states to fall, they have to stop getting supported by America's billions and trillions. And getting people in Congress who are against giving them that money is a key element in defeating Israel. It's not like a maybe, it's a necessity. Get your shit together. Holy fuck. Like, I honest to God, sometimes I feel like people are really lobotomized.
If you make an honest assessment off of
I really feel like people are lobotomized. Why does Pennsylvania have such a safe blue seat? How many Republican seats can be taken away without risking that district if the map was drawn better? Oh, you could gerrymander Pennsylvania to like 13 Dems if you wanted. Do it while the Democrats still control the Senate. So after 2026, if the Democrats do well enough in the state legislature, Pennsylvania could gerrymander. Unfortunately, their Supreme Court banned partisan gerrymandering as part of the Pennsylvania Constitution. So it would probably be, it would be a little bit much for those judges to rule that gerrymandering is illegal and then vote in favor of a gerrymander. That would be pretty funny, I think a lot of people see me defending AOC and they're like, oh God, I don't care. Mike's, it's all about vibes, right? It's all about this kind of approach toward politics, which is floating on the surface of social media clout. Right now, defending AOC, not cool, right? Because it's 2026. She's not running for president yet. She doesn't have millions of people clicking on her shit that are normies. So you're not going to get a bunch of algorithmic boost from supporting her. But in about 6 to 8 months, if she launches her campaign and normies hear about all of her great policies and they start getting excited and saying things that are positive about AOC gets you a boost, a lot of these people are going to find themselves realigning their takes and go, and how are they going to do it? Are they going to say that they changed their mind on AOC and they're making a tactical decision to support her? No, they're going to lie to you and pretend that AOC changed. They're going to lie to you and be like, oh no, AOC has just gotten so much better. My criticisms of her made her so much better because the algorithm is going to be rewarding being pro AOC. So when we need to defend, when we actually are fighting against the Zionists in the trenches, they're going to be stabbing us in the back. But the moment that it's profitable to go the other way, they're going to swing the other way. That's the way it is. And there is going to be some fraction of them that just become Jimmy Dore, right? Who become anybody but AOC, and then they end up voting for Tucker Carlson, right? That is going to be, some people are going to break off from the left and they're going to join the right, you know? And they're going to say it's because of Israel or whatever the fuck, but it is going to happen. And I am here right now telling you that's what's going to happen, because when it does happen, we can all laugh about it together. When he was crashing out over Jessica Tarlov, Cynicism says his meth strategy is why he's successful. LOL. Shitting on the left as they're trying to build power, and then you know, immediately flipping when they actually achieve it to be a parasite. Yes, it sounds like he's a fucking parasite and a worthless sack of shit that we should totally disavow, because he doesn't do anything and just parasites off of our movement and does nothing to help it actually win.
There are a lot of people who would like you to run for president.
Hasan shitting on Marxism yesterday. Oh, this is funny.
I disagree that there isn't a revolutionary fervor when you're organizing on material conditions and building tenant unions. People arrive militant because they have nothing else. The material conditions are bad enough, but if we have to organize on ideology, i.e. through elections, we're going to lose. Organizing is teaching people collectively engage in class struggle. Yes, Marxism. I know. You and I are not going to see eye to eye on, you know, building a robust movement. I don't disparage what you do, of course. I think it's unbelievably important, but you are, in some ways, unfortunately, a little bit of an anarchist, okay? I say we can do both.
By the way, they're not in competition. In fact, the stronger the left-wing politicians are, the more your tenant union is going to be able to do. In fact, tenant unions are liberal shit, by the way, you fucking idiot. I'm not against tenant unions, but they are liberal. You know what's better than a tenant union? Social housing, public housing, where the tenants control their own lives, and there's not and it's decommodified to be permanently affordable, where you don't make money because you own a house or an apartment, but you have a high quality house or apartment as a human fucking right. That is left. A tenant union is a negotiation with the landlord. It preserves the social class of landlord. It is, at best, trade union consciousness. Like, what the fuck are you even saying? Like, again, I'm not against it. It's good. It's left. But it's not the end-all, be-all. Like, what the fuck are we even saying? It's like, oh, yeah, we need to stop trying to seize state power so that we can negotiate with our landlord. And then when you try to negotiate with your landlord, and what? He goes to the fucking sheriff, who's elected. And he goes to the local magistrate who's elected, and they're all right-wingers, and they send guys with guns to rip you out of your fucking apartment and throw you out on the street because you didn't pay rent. That is the reality of the state. However, if you elect a bunch of lefties like Zoran Mamdani, and what is he doing right now? I think it was 50 million, or was it 30 million? 31 million, sorry. Zoran Mamdani just got $31 million paid from bad landlords to tenants.
Some landlords will now pay the price for neglecting conditions at residential buildings in the Bronx. Today, Mayor Mamdani will officially announce the largest penalty ever won by the city's Department of Housing Preservation and Development, $31 million. Let's go now to Naomi Ruckham in the Morrisania section of the Bronx. Naomi.
Well, Mary, tenants have been complaining for years about these conditions, which they call deplorable. In fact, our team was out here about 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, speaking with some of the tenants who complained about elevators that weren't working, mice in some cases, long periods of time where there was no heat and no water. We spoke to a resident who lived on the 16th floor, who said the waits for elevators could be very long, and even when they went out altogether, then he would sometimes have to climb 16 flights, more than a dozen flights, just to get to his apartment. Others showed us water damage inside their apartments, including buckets used to catch water from leaking ceilings. Tenants and their attorneys say they've been pushing for action for years, calling the conditions inside these buildings unacceptable. Now the city says the owners of Robert Fulton Terrace and Fordham Towers will face a record $31 million penalty. That's the largest ever won by the HPD. Officials say there are nearly 2,000 open violations across the buildings, including a vermin infestation. The owners also appear on the public advocate's worst landlords list. As part of the court judgment, the city won the appointment of a chief restructuring officer who will oversee repairs moving forward. Mayor Mamdani said in part, quote, "No landlord is above the law." And city officials say this isn't just about money. They want actual change for these residents and these buildings. In covering this story over the years, we have reached out to the landlords and have never heard back. Overnight, we also reached out to their attorneys and have not heard back from them either. Mary?
Naomi Ruckham, thank you.
So it's not to say that that tenant union is bad. In fact, the tenant union is great. But having state power and now 31 million on one landlord because he's a criminal, 31 million fucking dollars to go to fixing those apartments, right? That is why we do both. That's why we don't say that Zoran's bad, like Cinemarxism did in my chat. I mean, hell, I could pull up his fucking logs, right? And in between saying Zoran was bad, he was calling me an anti-Semite and trying to get me permit off the website. That's why we have a little bit of a different perspective.
Kirsten Cinemarxism? No, that's not true. He's not an anarchist. Okay. Well,
that's another thing you'll see in some of these social media influencers, right? Where it's like their ideology is constantly moving around. They're attacking every organization that actually exists because they are the truth, the light, and the way. Notice that I am like pushing you to join DSA or PSL or other left-wing organizations and telling you to run for office yourself and supporting all of that, right? And like the reality is, you know, it's totally fine for Hasan to treat these people with kid gloves because they're not targeting him yet, but they do discuss it, right? They say he's too big to fail, right? They do discuss it. They realize that taking him out is probably not a good idea, right? But they think they could fuck me up. They think they could destroy what I'm working on. You know, they think they can boost the Zionist slanders of me to get me deplatformed, and that'll help their streams grow.
Sure, sounds like one in a lot of instances.
They discuss trying to take down Hasan. Yeah, they say he's too big to fail.
Organizing the working class is anarchism? Yes, it can be. What do you think? Wait, what? What, you think anarchists don't fucking organize the working class? Of course they do. They're at the especially in the United States of America, anarchists have been at the forefront of labor movements. What the fuck do you think the Haymarket riots were? Of course they are. They play an unbelievably...
That's true. The anarchists of the turn of the century were fucking cooking back then.
A profoundly important role in building working class movements.
They really were back in the day.
They do a shit ton more real practiced work and direct action and mutual aid than many self-described Marxist-Leninists do. Okay? My anarchism slander is you know, it stems from my ideological deviation on what must be done. Having said that, I would never in a million years disparage the important work the anarchists do in the United States of America. Also showering. I think it's very important to shower with regular frequency, and basic hygiene sometimes is an unjustifiable hierarchy.
Also bedtime. Bedtime for children.
Okay, that's what it is.
That's an unjustifiable hierarchy as well.
I have to throw a little bit of slander in there, okay? I have to toss in a little bit of slander in this conversation. Just as funny, the 5,000 time good one.
It's funny because it's 100% always true.
2028. There are others who would like you to run for the United States Senate. Senator Schumer's up in 2028. What say you about all of this?
You know, it's funny because in this op-ed that Jeff Bezos paid for in the Washington Post, there was this line that you had mentioned earlier about, well, as a potential 2028 contender, XYZ. And in the context of that, it was very clear this was a veiled threat, right? So the elite saying, if you want this job, you just stepped out of line. And we want you to know where the real power is. We'll make an example out of you. What's funny about that is that they assume that my ambition is positional. They assume that my ambition is a title or a seat. My ambition is way bigger than that. My ambition is to change this country. And
bars. Bars.
Presidents come and go. Senate, House seats, elected officials come and go. But single payer health care is forever. A living wage is forever. Workers' rights are forever. Women's rights, all of that. When you aren't attached, when you haven't been like fantasizing about being this or that since the time you were 7 years old, it is tremendously liberating because I get to wake up every day and say, how am I going to meet the moment?
Great politician, by the way. Did not answer the question at all, for the record. She bobbed and weaved like the best of them. That's the most long-winded way for a politician to say, I don't know, maybe, who knows? I think it was a good answer regardless that, you know, what we need to do is build a movement, that type of thing, because that's what she's saying there. And it's good because I agree with her.
There are a lot of people who would like you to run for president in 2028. There are others who would like you to run for the United States Senate. Senator Schumer's up in 2020.
And this is the thing they're talking about. They did it AOC versus Airbnb, right? They strawmanned her into saying that the housing costs are just due to Airbnb, right? The post is standing in the way of her humble ambition to remake the country as a socialist utopia. More Brits pray for private insurance because the National Health Service is so bad. So you have 20 years of conservatives and neoliberals cutting the NHS. They spend like 30% of what we do per person on healthcare in the UK. Think about that. And they get better outcomes. Even though they've starved the system to death, it still delivers better outcomes at much lower prices. They'll be like, look, we sabotaged this. We prefer to simply debate policy. Consider AOC's recent criticism of Airbnb. The legislator received blowback after telling a millionaire friend that all billionaires come by their wealth illegitimately. She then pointed to the short-term home rental platform as an example of how a service that millions of people like to use is actually harmful to society. She argued that Airbnb's businesses could exist without destabilizing housing markets and rapaciously evicting millions. Now young people are planning for a future where they will never be able to afford a home, while others have 20 and live off renting it out to them at extortionate rates with zero protections. A few billions while millions bear the cost, she insisted. Airbnb has achieved impressive scale, but it's nothing compared to the government. Fewer than 2% of American homes are listed on the platform. Incredible. While there is some evidence it affects home prices at extremely high tourism areas, it can't come close to explaining the national rise in home prices. Notice that she didn't say that. Notice that she did not say that. She said Airbnb sucks for society and it hurts the housing market. She didn't say it's the entire explanation for the national rise, right? So the entire article starts off with what amounts to a straw man. A housing crisis visible around the country as a result of government simultaneously constricting supply while stoking demand. Guys, I want you to know that the only reason you need a house is because the government has stoked demand. The government, chat, the reason why you need a roof over your head and a bedroom to sleep in and a bathroom to shit in is because the government stoked demand. Or I have another idea. It's a necessity that every human being needs to survive. And the demand exists as long as human beings are not energy orbs on the cloud. Okay? It is something we all need. So the government doesn't stoke demand. It might subsidize the cost by helping people pay for that. That's not stoking the demand. The demand is largely fixed around the idea that that's what we need as a necessity. And this is kind of what conservatives like to do, right? Like, they like to play with discourse, with bullshit. Now, I am a supply side socialist. What does that mean? It means that I believe the government should own or provide directly production in necessities and natural monopolies like housing. You want to reduce housing prices? Then the government needs to produce housing on a regular, consistent basis as a human right. That means taking land. That means building apartments that are high quality and desirable and just doing that nonstop in a predictable fashion and offer those things at cost or near cost and just keep producing and keep producing. Now, if the market wants to go out there and produce shit for the luxury high-end side, fine. You want to invest a bunch of money in housing and make money off of it, and you can make it in the conditions that I described, go for it. That happens in Vienna, Austria. There's plenty of private investment in housing, but only 30% of people live in public or private housing. Most people live in social or public housing, especially in the middle class. and it's high quality and it delivers. How do they do that? They've been building social and public housing for 100 years nonstop, other than World War II when they were taken over by fascists. And like, that is the only solution. Waiting for the market to decide, well, I guess housing makes me enough money, I'm gonna go out there and do it, leads to a consistent undersupply, because that's how you get fucking profit. You get profit because it's undersupplied. So what's wrong with our system is that we have focused on providing subsidies to the capitalists as opposed to providing services to the people. For decades, federal tax law has subsidized demand with policies like the mortgage interest deduction and government-backed mortgage securities. I talked about this in a video on my channel that you should I highly recommend if you're trying to understand why the world is the way it is. I talked specifically about this in our housing market reveals why China won. I talk about the reason why America the other day. America has a dysfunctional housing system is because it was set up by the right to head off socialism. Is housing to make money for real estate investors, or is it for you to live in? And houses are a depreciating asset. And like, the reason why we have the dumb system we have is because it was set up by the right to head off socialism. The reason why America has a dysfunctional housing system is the program was set up to turn you all into homeowners, which were petite bourgeois. We wanted to create a bunch of homeowners so that they would not have an interest in socialism because they owned equity in a property. They were a property owner. So that was the plan, right? Like, you'll be against socialism because you'll have an asset. And so we set up a government program to give boomers an asset. Do you think white boomers, this is very important, this was racially motivated as well. Like, we had redlining. This is something that I regret not mentioning more directly. Like, black people and other people of color were explicitly excluded from these programs. Bank would give you a 30-year loan where you pay 3% interest if that was the free market. Do you think some random schmo would be able to get a 30-year term under the free market? The answer is no, in case you're wondering. The way mortgages used to work, and I've talked about this before, was that they were 7-year loans and you made interest-only payments, or shorter. It was 3 to 7 years. This was how mortgages used to work. They were 3 to 7 years and you would make interest-only payments, and then you would own the entire principal at the end of the loan. That's how mortgages used to work. Now, if you're like, what? Well, you know what happened is a lot of people would, if the economy had like a recession, a lot of people would not be able to qualify for a new loan and they would go bankrupt and they would lose their house to the bank. And we had we were having like fucking revolutions over this shit. See, here we go, petty auctions. Basically, people would show up with guns and they would say, okay, this has been foreclosed on, and they would intimidate the bank agent who would show up at the sheriff's sale for the property, and they would allow the original owner to buy their own property from the sheriff for a penny. The term arose during the foreclosure of farms during the Great Depression of the United States. Neighbors would gather in large numbers at the auction and place bids of only a few pennies while intimidating anyone who attempted to bid competitively. In the end, the bank that owned the farm would get whatever was bid, and the neighbors would return the farm and its contents to the farmer. So this is what they were fighting against, right? This was a socialist farmer alliance. That's why, if you've ever heard of the Democrat Farmer Labor Party, that's what was happening in the 30s, is that the proletariat in the cities was allying with the farmers in the rural areas, and they were creating the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. That's the that's why we got the 30s, because that's how the system used to work. Well, all of the capitalists look at this shit and they were like, oh, the peasants joining with the workers. That's what happened in Russia. We got to stop this. We got to stop this or we're all going to be killed. And they're like, well, what if we did a thing? What if we created a new type of mortgage where instead of paying all the principal off at once, we allowed people to pay the principal off over time, and we extend the term out really long to make it affordable? And the banks were like, we don't want that. What the fuck? We'll make no money. This is crazy. And the government said, all right, here's what we'll do. We will government back the loan. You'll make profit off the loan. And if somebody goes bankrupt and they lose and they foreclose, and then you take the property and then you can't get your principal back, the government will pay whatever you lose. We will backstop that loan to make sure the bank never loses money on it. That's the deal we have. So basically, banks right now are feudal lords in America. And when they give you a mortgage, that's a government guaranteed loan. So they make profit. They make whatever the difference between the mortgage rate and the prime rate. That's guaranteed government guaranteed profit. So that is zero risk. Now, if you're making government guaranteed profit at zero risk, you are like, this is a very important point that I think a lot of people don't understand, which is like the government could just provide the loans directly, right? Or we could have a socially owned bank. Right? Like we could have a bank owned by the city of Los Angeles that does the same thing, right? And it takes advantage of the same programs. Because what happened in the 2008 crisis is that the banks were just issuing so many loans and then they were repackaging them and selling them. They didn't give a fuck whether they went bad or not. And they were bailed out with what was called TARP. Okay. The Troubled Asset Relief Program. So basically, they gave out a bunch of bad mortgages that people couldn't pay back, and they started to go bad. And what happened? The government stepped in and bought all them for above market rates, all those terrible bonds, all those terrible mortgage deals, and 10 million Americans lost their homes. But all of Wall Street was bailed the fuck out. They got saved. You lost your house, the banks got bailed out, and Obama led to Trump. That's exactly what happened. So when we talk about alternative systems, we're talking about a necessity. Okay, where the fuck was I? What was I looking at before I went down this path? I don't remember. Anyway, the UK Greens are monsters. We love them. Oh, hell yeah. The new deputy mayor of Hackney, UK, he wants to ban landlords from earning profit.
I don't see why any landlord's making profit off rent or off housing, right? If I pay rent to my house, it's for a human right. I'm paying just to maintain that home. I think that should be the basis. So if it has to be a thing where a 2-bedroom flat literally is £600 maximum, then it is what it has to be. And for
the only way that'll work, again, the only way that works, it's not a bad it's not bad in and of itself, but the only way that works is if you make it an express right, and you set up the funding mechanisms and you set up the structures in order to perpetuate it. If you just say it has to be X amount capped, but you don't provide a government supply, then that's going to result in shortages. And the reality is housing has to be the housing policy has to be redistributive. You can't just be like sit there and stomp your feet and go like, oh no, it should be provided to me by this at this price. No. You have to say, okay, the government's going to seize land, and because the government has the ability to control land for free, then the cost of the housing is just based on the labor to construct the housing and the materials. And so the government can provide much, much lower rents then, but there's still going to be some amount of cost to, the production of that unit. Like that's just how the world works, right? Like you need lumber, you need concrete, you need copper, you need to have fiber optic cables or whatever the fuck, plumbing, etc., etc. If you want that stuff to be produced, it has to be purchased, right? Within our system. And so if you want to provide that, I mean, so you can make flats 600 pounds, maybe 1,000 pounds or 1,200 pounds, but by cutting out the land speculation cost or the interest expense from financing. That's where we can attack the capitalist class where it hurts. That's why we're able to do it. That's why we could produce housing cheap, because if we make the land value zero and we make the interest expense 0 or 3% or whatever inflation is, it's not magic. It's just the numbers. And we can provide that housing cheaper at cost. And so instead of the landlord profiting, it's all the tenants who live inside the building, right? Society has created this housing asset, and the people that are now better off, the people that are getting the surplus, are the people that are living in the new apartment. And you just keep doing that, and you keep doing that, and you keep doing that until everybody's living in one of those social housing units, or most people are. And only the people that would consume luxury housing are living in private housing. And so everybody is now, because everybody has that high quality social housing, everybody has that redistribution into their life, and it's just their life is now improved, and all of the negative social costs of not having good quality housing are destroyed, are defeated, because everybody has high quality housing. So you don't get all the negative social problems and negative externalities that come from living on the street or not being able to afford rent. Because you're able to afford rent because it's lower cost, you have extra money to consume in other areas of the economy, leading to more growth. That is what we're calling for. It's not that complicated. It's not that hard. Starmer reveals makeover ahead of his speech this morning in a desperate attempt to win back voters. England. I'm from England. Why was my close-up interview that aired this morning presented by the Israeli Broadcasting Authority? You guys are the only statewide television network in New Hampshire, and your political programming is being sponsored by Israel? What the fuck? Amazing. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going, chat. I wanted to watch the AOC versus the thing. Sorry, everybody.
The only way that the American socialist movement has ever grown in the last decade or so is
Cussy on Fox News.
Read, who needs to understand the sweep, the arc of history, when you can just go for maximum Marxist shock value?
Now let's talk about Car Universe 9/11.
You got me. I almost believed you. I almost believed this is real. You almost got me.
In Car's cinematic universe, New York City exists.
What if we
pretend? This plane also exists in the Car cinematic universe. These are the Twin Towers, now also known as the World Trade Center. On September 11, 2001, in the Car cinematic universe, one of the planes hit the towers. Cars.
Okay, here's the question I have for the Cars cinematic universe experts. So the planes are people, right? In the Cars cinematic, like planes are people in cars, right? Like there's planes and cars, right? So the planes are not piloted by cars; they're planes. So like, was the plane like a jihadist himself, or did like a jihadist car hijack the plane? I'm like confused.
9/11.
And he not only celebrates 9/11, but he mourns the fall of the USSR. Who needs to read? Who needs to understand?
I think most people who were in Russia and in the Eastern Bloc were doing very poorly after the fall of the USSR. Now, there are some exceptions. I think Poland and the Czech Republic have done decently. But for the most part, it's been a pretty big disaster for most of those areas. For most of the largest states, it was pretty bad.
Is by way of these electoral vehicles that are basically free for the taking. Okay? Bernie Sanders in 2016, Bernie Sanders again in 2020. AOC was another major driver in DSA memberships. Coming from AOC against Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it's going to frustrate.
There is a main channel vid. Oh, thank God! I was looking for it. Did this just drop? Oh, okay. I looked. I didn't see it.
This is going to be another discourse bomb, a discourse grenade coming from AOC against Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is like designed to piss off,
Cars can't be inside of planes. Mater was in a plane in Cars and Cars 2, so a car could hijack the plane and force it to do things. So are there car pilots inside the plane, or is there like a cockpit, or is that just where their brain is? I'm just trying to like, obviously there was a 9/11 in the Cars universe. So I'm just trying to understand the mechanism. Even more problematic is that the Pope is a car in the Car universe. So Catholicism and Protestantism exist there. This implies the Irish Civil War and liberation exist, aka the car troubles. Yeah. Obviously, I'm on side of the car IRA, right? The car IRA is trying to reunify car Ireland. All right, let's keep going.
Cenk Uygur, barbarism critic, Queen in Yellow, and everybody else on Twitter. Okay, I know, I saw it. I feel like I'm the connective tissue here in some respects because I understand. And
I like a lot of those people, by the way. I like a lot of those people, but I think the way that people act toward AOC, especially elder millennial leftists on Twitter, is very cringe. It's extremely cringe. And there's this like, I think it's because she's one of us that they get so up their own feels. Because like thinking about how successful AOC is kind of like, you know, it's kind of like a judgment of how successful you are, right? Like if I'm a political left-wing millennial, who can I compare myself to but AOC? And I think there's some weird like psychosexual envy, parasocial like energy that's in there, and on top of the like as I said before, the way the algorithm rots your brain.
Acknowledge both sides of this argument, ironically enough. And anytime this conversation opens up, people lose their minds. I will say
we have a hype train. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting it by subscribing at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you can attach that to your Twitch account. You get 1 free sub a month. That's your Twitch Prime sub. Please consider supporting the stream. We are just a little bit short of 7,000 subs. So please consider supporting us. Thank you so much. GAC2 for the resub. Hell yeah. Remember, the top sub gifter and the top bit donor get the Hype Train Conductor badge next to their name. Wow. What's this? Oh, okay. Thank God.
On why the Irish Republican Army canonically exists in the Disney Pixar Cars universe. Let's start at the beginning. In the movie Cars 2, there's a car version of the Catholic Pope. There he is. That's him. Which there being a car Catholic Pope means that there's a full-on car Catholic religion, a car Catholic church. There being a car Catholic church means that there was a car Jesus Christ, Jesus Chrysler, if you so will. There being a car Jesus Chrysler means that car King Henry VIII, when he wanted to divorce his wife, had to split the Catholic religion and the Protestant religion into separate entities, which means the cars had two different sects of Christianity, which means that there was a car version of the Protestant Catholic struggles in the north of Ireland, which means ultimately that there was a car IRA. And it probably looked something like that, but the question remains, now that we cleared this up, if the cars were the members, then what did they explode? What did they blow up? Human bombs? Hello everybody, this is my presentation on...
That's a really good point. I mean, I guess they just did like self-immolation, right? Like they blew themselves up.
Hey, I do lean a little bit more on the AOC side of this predicament, though. I mean, I'll take it. I'll take any support I can get. You guys know this already.
Wait, I mean, like, there is no Marjorie Taylor Greene side of this. There's just people that are, I don't know how to put this. I don't know if they're just not bright or they're just all grifting. Like, there is no Marjorie Taylor Greene side of this. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a joke. She's in no way a serious anything. Okay? If she was still in Congress and she was like, hey, I want to work with people on the other side of the aisle to vote for X, Y, and Z bill, then I would say, yeah, take her in and agree with and work with her on that anti-Zionism bill. I would. But she's not even that. There is no Marjorie Taylor Greene side. You know what I mean? Like, there is no like logic there. He's a fucking poster now. I think a lot of the discussion on this issue in particular is also a little bit of like, you know how the media always likes to make shows and movies about the media? Like, how many fucking movies have you seen that are about like actors or, you know, musicians, or like media is always making content about media. So like saying that Marjorie Taylor Greene is irrelevant because she's just a poster is kind of me saying that I'm irrelevant because I'm just a poster. And it's like, yeah, I am kind of saying that. Like, if the choice was between Mike the streamer or Mike the senator, you should want me to be a senator. I would do more as a senator than I would as a streamer. Like, it's not that complicated. You know what I mean? It's not that hard. There's very, very few examples where that's not the case. But so if somebody quits being a politician to be a streamer or a podcaster, they're a fucking idiot. If they have elected office and they quit it to start a podcast, they're a fucking joke. Anyway, chat, people are like, Mike, run for office, and then I have a level 3 hype train. If I were to run for office, I would need a hell of a lot more than a level 3 fucking hype train. What the hell are you saying? You know, like, give me some fucking 20 bombs and so I could at least fantasize that I have support. It's like, what the fuck are we even saying here? I don't want to run a fucking Cenk Uygur campaign, okay? I would never run unless I had hardcore local backing first. I would never pull I moved across the country to a new city and then ran against a already existing pro-Palestinian rep. And then, you know what I mean? Like, you would never see me do that. You would never see me do that. I would be working in the local politics space for years before I ever decided to run. This guy is doing the same thing with Hasan. What's this? Where did Mehdi Hasan get his view that AOC is a viable presidential contender? His entire time in America has been in Washington, D.C. Has he spent any time in the suburbs of Atlanta, Philadelphia, or Detroit? Because that's who decides elections, not social media hype. Bro, give it up with the anti-Idpol shit, please. I am begging for every decent take. You spend weeks hyperfixating on woke politicians. It's 2026. Americans are infinitely more woke than the way this website makes you feel. Not in an academia way, but in a Graham Plattner way. Like, that's the thing that's also... Zaid is very much an Idpol guy. He loves Ro Khanna. He's a South Asian guy. He likes another South Asian king winning. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fucking, it's cool. But like, be like, oh man, Ro Khanna, he's got it all figured out. It's like, Ro Khanna's charisma is like much less than AOC's. AOC's charisma is coming out of her pores. Okay, AOC, whereas Ro Khanna has the type of charisma that maybe I have, which is like, I want to tell you how smart I am by rushing around talking to people. Like, that's not the same type of charisma level. You know, it's just like, come on, man. Come the fuck on. I like to believe that the Cars universe is a sequel to the Thomas the Tank Engine universe, where the trains had enough and slaughtered their human oppressors. Anyway, chat, we have a level 4 hype train. If you enjoy the content, please remember to support the stream by subscribing at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you can attach that to your Twitch account. You get 1 free sub a month. That's your Twitch Prime sub. You could also donate bits. The top sub gifter and the top bit donor get the Hype Train Conductor badge next to their name, which is a golden locomotive. Holy shit. What kind of leftist wouldn't want the adorable golden locomotive next to their name? And let me tell you, chat, you could get it for as little as 201 bits or 2 gifted subs. It's cheap as fuck right now to get that coveted Hype Train Conductor badge.
I'm the centrist on this issue between the AOC side of the conversation and the anti-Zionists who are yelling at her, specifically on Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I care about results. I care about results. Now, there are certain places certain areas where I don't think that we should ignore.
Mike would be the NKVD gas van. I don't think there is such a thing. I think you're confusing the Soviet Union with Nazi Germany.
Some folks' record on some of these issues, right? It's about where we trust intent, where we trust where those outcomes are going. I personally,
when the Soviets executed people, they would just shoot them. That's how they would do it.
Do not trust someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, a proven bigot and anti-Semite, on the issues of what is good for Gazans and Israelis. I don't think that it benefits our movement in that instance to align the left with white nationalists. I don't think it serves us. And so I think it's about looking at the context, the place, the results, the outcomes, intentions, and where we think that train would go. But as far as what someone says about me, I could care less. And, I think it's really about what our outcomes are. And to be honest, there are some areas where things will not get done if they're partisan because they are anti-establishment. There is bipartisan consensus on keeping and protecting stock trading in Congress. And so it's going to require a massive bipartisan consensus of people willing to come together across those differences to get it done.
The Marjorie Taylor Greene situation is a unique one because, like, I love Ilhan Omar. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been unbelievably vile towards Ilhan Omar. And she is like, yeah, in spite of all of that, I do respect, I guess I do think that there is like some gains to be made here. But also at the same time, I think AOC's warnings are correct. Marjorie Taylor Greene has not done enough to prove that she is she's done a decent chunk to prove that she's more sympathetic than the average politician on this issue, on the issue of Israel. But she absolutely has not done enough to prove that she's not a demonic entity at this point. I mean, it's crazy.
The thing that has been very fascinating, especially about Marjorie and Candace, is that they are not just coming out like the other ones that you'd mentioned, where they're saying this action is wrong, right? They're saying, I am done with you. We should give them credit for that.
I don't know what else she said on top of that.
Thank you, Spendy Time, for the 5 gifteds and Kit Kat for the 5 gifted. You guys are the best. Thanks for getting this hype train rolling.
Though, why are you so critical of AOC, bro? Is genuinely embarrassed. What the fuck has AOC done? Has she criticized Dem leadership like Marjorie Taylor Greene did the Republicans? AOC,
like AOC literally just criticized. She just criticized the establishment by saying we're gonna need to do stuff across the aisle because it's anti-establishment. She just literally did 5 seconds ago. What the fuck are you saying?
She's working tirelessly for a ceasefire, chatters. If you make an honest assessment off of like every legislative action that AOC has done in her career, I
do think, like, as I said at the time, and I was so fucking right. God damn, is my analysis good. When AOC did that speech, I analyzed it and I said, this is good for her approval among normie Democrats, which is good for her long-term national presidential ambitions. But it's going to be terrible and a stain on her record for the left. And I think that it was an overall mistake. I think she should have gotten that speech at the DNC, and she should have not linked, and she should have just addressed the elephant in the room and said, I hope they change their positions on Gaza because I think it'll help them win. I think she should have went off script and fucking did that. I think she should have went off script and fucking did that. Now, they would have gone nuclear on her. They would have attacked the shit out of her. They'd be like, she's distracting from Democratic Party unity. She's destroyed. She's going to have us lose to Trump. Blah, 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 blah. But I think in the long term, it would have benefited her. But it was a riskier move. And maybe they lied to her. I don't know. I mean, this is I don't ever allow politicians, in my mind, I don't give them the benefit of the doubt. Oftentimes, that causes me to judge them more harshly than other people. I don't think you get the benefit of the doubt as a politician. If you do something and it sucks, I think you did it intentionally and you knowingly did that bad thing. I don't fuck around and go like, oh no, maybe she got lied to and tricked. I don't want a politician that got lied to and tricked. That's even worse. I'd rather you make a cold-blooded calculation than you fucking get tricked by Joe Biden. You know what I mean? So for my own sanity, I would rather say that she looked at the reality and she said, we can't knock them off this Israel position as hard as we try, but Donald Trump will be just so much worse at everything. And maybe with, maybe with Kamala in there and a fresh set of eyes, we'll be able to get some movement. Maybe she thought that, but fundamentally she ended up damaging her own reputation by associating herself with sinking ship. That was the Biden-Harris campaign. And I said that at the time.
Action that she's ever taken in her career, and then compare it to Marjorie Taylor Greene's track record, and you still think Marjorie Taylor Greene is actually better than AOC, you're genuinely a dumb person. I don't know what to even explain to you. Like, I don't even know how we can have a conversation at that point. I do give Marjorie Taylor Greene credit for being an unlikely ally in this issue. The problem with AOC,
because she's stupid and she watches too much online media. Again, Marjorie Taylor Greene did not understand that the Republican Party is the hands of Zionist billionaires and always has been. And they threw her the like anti-left, racist, anti-immigrant shit as a fucking red meat to the base. But fundamentally, they're not listening to the podcaster bros. They're listening to their billionaire donors. They just have red meat to throw out to their audiences that they will accept as good enough because they're fucking stupid. But the moment they started going against Israel, because why? Why were they going against Israel? They got audience captured. Their audiences were looking at the dead kids and they were disgusted. And so they started criticizing Israel. And because they are right-wingers and they're anti-Semites, they thought, well, now's the time I can go mask off anti-Semite. Israel is a great excuse. I can attack Jews. Right? The genocide of Gaza is the perfect catalyst for normalizing anti-Semitism. She didn't realize that Donald Trump was so firmly in the pocket of the Zionists that he was never going to tolerate that pivot. She's just stupid.
See is that there's so much misinformation and people's brains shut off when they think about AOC on the left. We are far more ruthless to people who are ideologically closest to us. Not to say that she's like there, not to say that she's like 100% there, not to say that she's infallible. Like working tirelessly for a ceasefire is a perfectly valid critique about what AOC has said and done. Aligning with Biden and telling Biden not to drop out. These are things that I have criticized. Other things that I've criticized were specifically to even allow Marjorie Taylor Greene to be the correct voice on defensive and offensive weapons distinctions in Congress, something that AOC is now on board with, right? These are problems, certainly, in the way that AOC communicates, but the way people treat it, they don't have a consistent framework that they analyze politicians on. It turns into, I don't like this person, and here are a million reasons why. Many of those millions are just exaggerations off of like what she has done that is worthy of criticism, that turns into red lines that people design for themselves, that they don't actually hold other people to the same standard. I have a consistent framework on this where I say I grade politicians on a curve. I match them up with the rest of the political class. AOC is far above and far closer to our goals and our...
By the way, chat, you know, I'm not going to take credit for this position because I feel like this has been Hasan's position for a long time. But I have to say that whenever Hasan and I talk, which is not that... I mean, it's not that rare. Pretty often. I'm like, AOC is it. I've always been saying this. I've been saying that AOC is the person that's going to represent our flank for years. If you've been a long time viewer of my stream, I've been saying that for years and years and years. Even as I criticized her, I've always said, she's going to be the person. She's Bernie's successor. Accept it. You need to understand that that is the way things are going. Now, if I'm wrong and somebody pops up out of nowhere and gets a bunch of energy, I'll jump on board with them. Not against an alternative, but I also don't want to shit where I eat. If that's going to be our fucking candidate, if that's going to be the candidate of the left, then we need to make sure that we are actually capable of promoting her to victory. And here's the thing where people don't understand. She has a lot of normie Democrat appeal. That's why Bernie lost. The reason why Bernie Sanders lost is because regular base voters, black women in the South, black women in many places were skeptical of him because he was a party outsider. AOC has managed to keep Bernie's politics while inculcating herself as a party, you know, as a party stalwart. And there has been reputational damage that was taken in order to do that. But she was playing the game of why was Bernie Sanders not able to consolidate the party? Because he was seen by many of the people that are like regular Democratic voters as unelectable, outsider, not a real Democrat. All those attacks hit home. A lot of people identify with the Democratic Party as part of their identity. So if you are seen as not a Democrat in the Democratic primary, it could hurt you. Now it helps you in general elections, but the general election only matters if you win the primary first. So you have to like walk that tightrope of, hey, I need regular Democratic base voters to think of me as on the team. Remember what I said about Schmidt? Friend enemy distinction? Notice how a lot of centrists look at leftists and blame them for losing the elections of 2016 and 2024. They've put the leftists. Think about how many people you know online that have become polarized against the left because of like team sports reasons. What AOC is trying to do is avoid that kind of, she's trying to get in the inside of that circle for the Democratic base primary voter. And, you know, that's her strategy. That's her idea. That's her entryism. I think she should have been a little bit more critical of the Democratic Party base because I feel like, or the Democratic Party establishment, because that's actually, I think, where the base is.
Perspectives than virtually the rest of Congress, even if at times she says things that I am unbelievably critical of, even if at times she does the wrong thing, says the wrong thing. Like many people probably don't know this, but like Jamal Bowman has, unlike AOC, I love Jamal Bowman. You know I love Jamal Bowman. Jamal Bowman has literally voted to send weapons to Israel, right? Jamal Bowman was punished for being a one of the few lone anti-Zionist voices in Congress. And I love Jamal Bowman. How do you square that circle? If I can make...
by the way, I disagreed with I disagreed with Cinemarxism. I disagreed with Oscord. I disagreed with a lot of people when Jamal Bowman was running for re-election and AOC and Bernie Sanders were doing a rally, and they were advocating to protest that rally and disrupt that rally. And what ended up happening is Jamal Bowman was defeated by one of the most Zionist. He wasn't just defeated in a primary. He was defeated by, here's the Palestine tracker. Let me go. The guy that replaced Jamal Bowman is, I think it's Thomas Susie, right? Or is it who? I think it was this guy, right? Or am I misremembering? No, it was Latimer. Oh, okay, you're right. You're right. It was Latimer. Where the fuck is Latimer? There he is. He's got an 8% on Palestine. 196th Democrat on Palestine. He went from somebody who had changed his positions, was pro-Palestine, anti-Zionist, and he got replaced by a white Zionist who's endorsed by AIPAC. It is not on any pro-Palestinian legislation at all. First thing he did when he got into Congress was vote to sanction the ICC on Palestine. Oh, thank you, dear. New York 3rd was George Santos' seat. Oh, okay, chat. Vio brought me fried eggs and toast. Wow. Thank you, Vio. So, like, you're right, chat. You're right. That's George Santos' seat. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, so I disagreed with Hoscord. I thought that was a fucking stupid thing to do. Yes, he had made a bad vote, but he had recanted that position, and he was now one of the most pro-Palestinian members in Congress. And I thought that keeping him would be a good thing. In fact, we should have been protesting him. We should have been helping him. And I got viciously attacked in those places for that. You can go back and look. And are we better off? Are we better off having a mega Zionist in that seat rather than Jamal Bowman? I just got out of a meeting with spreadsheets, and now I come back to this. I was just showing how bad the guy who replaced Jamal Bowman was on Israel. 8% on the Palestine score. Seems pretty bad. This spreadsheet is maintained by a friend of mine who is a DSA member.
That distinction in my mind and be more understanding of people's mistakes, even on the legislative side where they have the most amount of impact, then you should be able to do this as well. Because if you were to ask the average person, for example, right now between Ro Khanna and AOC, a lot of people love Ro Khanna. I do too, right? I think Ro Khanna is great. AOC's legislative track record is far more progressive than Ro Khanna's, though. But she gets all the hate. This isn't to say go hate on Ro Khanna. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just trying to recenter the charitability that you afford certain candidates that you don't afford to AOC, so you develop a more consistent framework that you operate off of. Do you see what I mean? That's what this is. If you don't know Omar is saying this is right, what does AOC have to deny the Palestinians an ally? I mean, I think she's making a fair assessment here that it will take a lot for her to consider Marjorie Taylor Greene to be a true ally in this cause. And I don't think that's a wrong assessment. It's one that I also agree with. I don't trust Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't trust Tucker Carlson. I don't trust Nick Fuentes. And a lot of people get mad at me for saying that. A lot of people disagree with me on this issue. Marjorie Taylor Greene sacrificed her political career to stand against genocide, against Trump, against the Epstein class, and defend survivors of Epstein's trafficking. If that doesn't earn credibility, I don't know what possibly could. Don't you say you want to change the Democratic Party? I'm genuinely confused. Yes, in the interim. But if the Democratic Party, which I expected to be unbelievably resistant as it is so far, the Democratic Party is just a brand, okay? That's all it is. You can fill it up with whatever you want to fill it up with, but their goal is to ultimately protect corporate interests. But right now, the Democratic Party is unbelievably weak, and their voters, self-identifying Democrats, self-identifying liberals, actually are not so ideologically invested in third-way neoliberalism as the party is invested. They're not invested in defending Israel as the National Democratic Party is invested in defending Israel. So we have a real...
But they're also not ideological socialists either. They probably like our ideas, but they don't identify as a socialist, right? And what a lot of lefties don't understand is that agreeing with my ideas, that's a temporary condition. In order for you to become... Damn, you hate to see it. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. What was I saying? You really do hate to see that. I just want to restore. I can't restore my old session. Let's... Hate to see it. Okay, where was I? What was I doing? Hoscord strike back. Bluetooth is broken? Cool. Give me a second to fix this, chat.
And our perspectives than virtually the rest of Congress, even if at times she says things that I am unbelievably critical of, even if at times she does the wrong thing, says the wrong thing. Like, many people probably don't know this, but like, Jamal Bowman has, unlike AOC, I love Jamal Bowman. You know I love Jamal Bowman. Jamal Bowman is literally voted to send weapons to Israel, right? Jamal Bowman was punished for being a one of the few lone anti-Zionist voices in Congress. And I love Jamal Bowman. How do you square that circle? If I can make that distinction in my mind and be more understanding of people's mistakes, even on the legislative side where they have the most amount of impact, then you should be able to do this as well. Because if you were to ask the average person, for example, right now between Ro Khanna and AOC, a lot of people love Ro Khanna. I do too, right? I think Ro Khanna is great. AOC's legislative track record is far more progressive than Ro Khanna's, though. But she gets all the hate. This isn't to say go hate on Ro Khanna. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just trying to recenter the charitability that you afford certain candidates that you don't afford to AOC.
All right. What was I saying? Okay. Yes. What was I saying? Since we've lost everybody, which is just, you just love to see that, huh? You love to see that. Not my favorite outcome. What was I saying? Oh, I was saying that people might agree with us on policy, right? They might agree that we are right about Medicare for all. They might like the idea of an anti-imperialist foreign policy and bringing the troops home. They might agree with, you know, free college or high-speed rail or any of these many good policy ideas of the left, rent freeze or whatever the fuck, okay? That doesn't make them ideological socialists, right? They are regular ass fucking people that heard an idea and they thought it sounded decent, okay? That's what it is. So for us to achieve that identification with democratic socialism, that's where the electoral politics focus has value. It's by making people part of a larger project that they identify with as their own personal knowledge level increases. That is what we're trying to do. That is what we, the opportunity that we have is when you have knowingly ideologically left-wing people in power. Like Zohran Mamdani says, I'm proud to be a democratic socialist. That is part of a project of normalizing socialist thought. And the thing is, people understand that these ideas work on the right. People understand how dangerous it is when Nazis get normalized. They understand how dangerous it is when Nick Fuentes sits down to speak with Donald Trump. They understand how dangerous it is to have Nazis on mainstream Fox News channels. But for some reason, when it's us, people think it's bad all of a sudden. They think it's bad when we use mainstream media for our own advantage. They think it's bad when people are moving the Overton window in our direction because they don't care about achieving socialism. They don't. They have their own affinity group, and we're outside the affinity group. We're kind of making the affinity group lame. They don't want to see their mom at a socialist meeting. How many socialists do you know want to see their mom at the next socialist meeting? If you don't want your mom or moms to feel safe or feel invested in the socialist gathering, then you're a fucking loser. You're more likely to be concerned about looking cool than achieving power. You know when I know a left-wing movement is gaining motion? When I feel like it's about to succeed? It's when moms start showing up. And one of the problems that the left has had has been we haven't gotten the buy-in from those maternal figures. Because, why? When you have the responsibility of a family on your shoulders, you're risk averse. When you have the responsibility of caring for other people, you have to be pragmatic. You have to actually put food on the table. You have to put roofs over heads. You have to take care of runny noses and scraped knees. It's not a fucking joke anymore. It's not just jerking off in your one-bedroom apartment alone. It's actually having to put others in front of you. And fundamentally, that is what leftism is all about. But unfortunately, in a lot of the spaces we occupy, it's about posturing as a certain type of radical. And I don't think AOC does a very good job in that posturing game. Some of us think of radicalism as a fundamental question of the current society, the status quo, versus what you are fighting to get. That's how I measure radicalism. For other people, it's a vibe.
AOC, so you develop a more consistent framework that you operate off of. Do you see what I mean? That's what this is. If you don't know Omar is saying this is right, what does AOC have to deny the Palestinians an ally? I mean, I think she's making a fair assessment here that it will take a lot for her to consider Marjorie Taylor Greene to be a true ally in this cause. And I don't think that's a wrong.
It's so funny because people will rush to tell me that Graham Plattner is the next John Fetterman and an opportunist. The same exact people that will tell you that Graham Plattner is an opportunist are defending Marjorie Taylor Greene. Think about how brain dead you have to be. And by the way, Graham Plattner won the primary. Who was the first person he talked to? David Sirota, one of Bernie Sanders' campaign advisors. And he blamed Obama for being a neoliberal. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
Assessment. It's one that I also agree with. I don't trust Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't trust Tucker Carlson. I don't trust Nick Fuentes. And a lot of people get mad at me for saying that. A lot of people disagree with me on this issue. Marjorie Taylor Greene sacrificed her political career to stand against genocide, against Trump, against the Epstein class, and defend survivors of Epstein's trafficking. If that doesn't earn credibility, I don't know what possibly could. Don't you say you want to change the Democratic Party?
Come on, ma'am. Come the fuck on, ma'am. She quit. She fucking quit. If she went down in combat fighting in a Republican primary, you got 20 million Zionist dollars spent against her, that would be one thing. But she went down without a fight. She went down from a Trump tweet, and you want me to like canonize her? Give me a fucking break.
Genuinely confused? Yes, in the interim. But if the Democratic Party, which I expected to be unbelievably resistant as it is so far.
You guys are going to see me do something that a lot of people can't do. Disagree on a bad take and then keep being normal toward the person. You're going to see me do something that you need to learn how to do.
The Democratic Party is just a brand, okay? That's all it is. You can fill it up with whatever you want to fill it up with, but their goal is to ultimately protect corporate interests. But right now, the Democratic Party is unbelievably weak, and their voters, self-identifying Democrats, self-identifying liberals, actually are not so ideologically invested in third-way neoliberalism as the party is invested. They're not invested in defending Israel as the National Democratic Party is invested in defending Israel. So we have a real opportunity to make significant gains here and to develop an ideological framework and organize and basically draw up as many numbers as possible. The only way that the American socialist movement has ever grown in the last decade or so is by way of these electoral vehicles that are basically free for the taking. Okay. Bernie Sanders in 2016, Bernie Sanders again in 2020. AOC was another major driver in DSA memberships. Even the most like rabid Democratic Party people will openly admit that the Bernie Sanders was an eye-opening moment for them in 2016. This is what it takes to build a movement beyond the Democratic Party.
Stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
And you had some things to say this.
Bro, it's crazy that like, look, I like if AOC, who is like one of the most inoffensive congresspersons in general, is capable of causing quote unquote controversy, of course people are going to yell at me too, you know? That's it. It's fitting for Ryan Grimm to support MTG. That's politics and that's drop side. After all, I admire the honesty, but those on the socialist left should naturally pick AOC. It shouldn't be hard. Yes, the socialist left at the Atlantic magazine. Yeah, I don't think Arash Azizi is like is actually a socialist. I know he self-describes as one, but he's really annoying, which I guess is a socialist tendency. Being really annoying is certainly something that socialists do quite well, if I do say so myself. But I do still think
I'm surprised he hasn't been banned from Twitch. This is worse than Fuentes' Your Body by Choice. Too many fake jobs were invented to create artificial parity between men and women in the workforce. AI fixes that problem. Hopefully after this is over, women can go back to doing what they do best, being a mother or being a prostitute. My reaction is, well, in Zach's case, both. She was both. Listen, Zach is probably one of the dumbest pieces of garbage to ever live. And this right here, this is just blatant misogyny, right? Like, this is just hatred of women. And like, honestly, the feeling's mutual, right? Like, women hate Asmongold. Like, women despise Asmongold. No, because he's literally including his own mother in his calculus. Bro teed it up for you. I mean, his mom isn't either one of these. She's closer to being Tinder than she is to either one of these.
think that AOC is not entirely wrong about her concerns over Marjorie Taylor Greene diving into a comprehensive alliance with the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene because she's saying some of the right things about Israel.
There's no reason to be a license. Why would we ally ourselves with Marjorie Taylor Greene? She's an influencer. She's not a politician. Again, if Marjorie Taylor Greene was in Congress and wanted to fucking offer a bill, that would be one thing. But she quit. She fucking quit.
But yeah, no, I of course agree with Ryan.
I'm gonna have to time you out, chatter, for an appropriate amount of time. I'll see you back when your timeout is over. But yeah, don't make AI videos like that or images. I don't approve of that. That's bad. I'm gonna have to escalate your punishment to double that if you do it again. So be careful.
Grim on this take that Arash Azizi,
like, she could be literally in Congress every day reading the Epstein files into the congressional record, but instead she's doing podcaster shit. Yeah.
is annoying and not really a socialist. It's not necessarily an inconsequential nor insignificant point that we are in agreement or in alignment with Marjorie Taylor Greene on. Okay. It's obviously one that is so rare in mainstream politics, in American politics, amongst politicians, former, current, present, doesn't matter. So I'm not writing that off as like inconsequential at all. I need you to understand. I don't think it's inconsequential. I think it means something, and I think we should be using it to our advantage. I am annoyed by, not annoyed necessarily, but I just like, I don't understand the excitement that I see from a lot of people like, oh yeah, see, like she's on our side now about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm annoyed in tactical sense. What does Marjorie Taylor Greene bring materially? I mean, it's the same as Tucker Carlson. It's the same as all of these other people that like possibly a framework that could change people's minds in the Republican coalitions. Like that's the idea, at least. That's what people believe. I don't know what this tendency is for a lot of people where like we are desperate for allies in this. And I'm never one to like disparage people coming on board with this movement. I'm not. I've actually yelled at quite a few people who are maybe too skeptical. It's going to take a lot for me to look at Marjorie Taylor Greene as like a movement leader or some shit. It's not even like the Jewish space lasers. I'm not even trying to identify like what the guiding principle for why she's anti-Israel. I'm not even doing that. I don't even do that with Tucker. If you notice, I'll always be like, I don't know what's in their heart. Maybe it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, right? I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like what this person's like comprehensive worldview is. This person's comprehensive worldview is literally just like doing Israel, but in America. Even if I cordon off this specific issue, the issue of Israel and like how they communicate on this issue and don't immediately assume that it's because like she wants the Jewish space lasers away from the hands of Israel being used in the Palestinians and instead to be used on Mexicans or whatever the she believes, right? Maybe that's not the reason why she's anti-Israel. Maybe she's anti-Israel because she literally saw too many children be slaughtered in the hands of Israel and was like, this is unbearable. There's a high likelihood that plays a big role in the attitude shift, because that has played a big role in the attitude shift of a lot of people on the right. A lot of people on the right saw that and were like, I'm out. 57% of Republicans under the age of 50 are anti-Israel now. That's unbelievable. You guys don't understand what that means, I don't think. That means that there's a lot of people who are Republicans who are just anti-Israel for one reason or another. Not all of them are anti-Israel because they're anti-Semitic. Maybe plenty of them, especially under the age of 30, might be, but that's not like the primary motivator. I welcome Marjorie Taylor Greene's support reluctantly, but I still welcome it nonetheless. What I don't think we should be doing is talking about how she's like a prominent fixture of this movement. That's a big
okay. If Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to attack Donald Trump for being a fucking sycophant of Israel, great. But the idea that she's like on our side is just laughably stupid. Who gives a fuck? Let her do her dumb shit. I mean, it is pathetically desperate for relevance to like pretend she's some sort of person. Like, give me a fucking break.
Crazy. That's a bit too rich for my blood, you know, because I've seen the way she communicates on other issues. It's not like she's had a real shift in consciousness. Like, I use Thomas Massie as a great example. Thomas Massie is like pretty much a psychopath on so many issues, but I welcome Thomas Massie's sincere efforts when it comes to tackling the Epstein class alongside Ro Khanna, and certainly being the lone and brave voice on the issue of Israel, okay, on the Republican side. Nobody's talking about Thomas Massey like he's a movement leader, right? I don't think. I think we got to remind people, like, you know, they're joining our side on this, right? We're not joining their side. That's what it is. And the same goes for Tucker. And hopefully they can change their perspective on all this other stuff too. Keep in mind, here is that AOC has specified in personal reasons to distrust Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is a 2019 video unearthed by K-File, for example.
And whisper. Okay, now let me show you how she campaigned.
I'm Marjorie Greene, and I approve this ad. America's the greatest country in the world. We need conservatives in Washington that will keep it that way. I'm running to stop gun control. Open borders. The Green New Deal. And socialism. Democrats fight for their socialist agenda every single day. I'll fight even harder to stop them. I'm Marjorie Greene, Republican for Congress. Save America, stop socialism.
Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene at the 2024 Republican convention. Remember how everyone says AOC's an evil backstabber because she said they're working for a ceasefire?
Please welcome Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Today is a celebration. The American spirit is alive and well, and we have once again nominated for president the founding father of the America First movement, Donald John Trump. Unfortunately, this is also a somber moment for our nation. 2 days ago, evil came for the man we admire and love so much. I thank God that his hand was on President Trump. And I pray for the family of Corey Comprator, who was killed at the rally, and for other attendees who were wounded. Corey embodied the spirit of America First. He displayed the ultimate show of love when he shielded his wife and daughter, sacrificing his own life. He reminded America of what we must be, a people who will do whatever it takes to defend the people and the nation that we love. I love you too. We will honor Corey's memory by building the country he wanted, the country he wanted for his children, and a government worthy of the American people. For far too long, the establishment in Washington has sold us out. They promised unity and delivered division. They promised peace and brought war. They promised normalcy and gave us Transgender Visibility Day on Easter Sunday. And let me state this clearly. There are only two genders. And we are made in God's image. Amen. And we won't shy away from speaking that simple truth ever. The Democrats ripped open our borders and allowed millions of illegal aliens to pour in, driving up the cost of housing and health care while slashing American wages and eliminating jobs. They claim that our economy is thriving, yet hundreds of thousands of American-born workers lost their jobs these past few years. The Democrats' economy is of, by, and for illegal aliens. Our open borders have also unleashed the worst drug crisis in American history. Yet while hundreds of thousands of Americans are suffering, the Democrats spent over $175 billion, your tax dollars, to secure Ukraine's borders. But they tell us the border wall is too expensive. But an American government that serves the interests not of the wealthy, the globalist, or the powerful few, but of all hardworking Americans is within our grasp. Donald Trump, has and he will make America successful again.
People like legitimately want you to hate AOC, who was openly calling it a genocide for a long time because she decided to endorse Kamala Harris instead of Donald Trump. They want you to hate and despise her as a traitor, but welcome this into our movement. I really don't know what to say, right? Like, she has no base. She's a dullard. Her politics are fascistic. The only reason she hates Israel is because they're Jews. She has no problem with exterminating the other. She just puts Jews in the other, and it lines up that attacking Jews, it lines up with, in her mind, attacking Israel. So she's okay with that. She thinks the Israelis have too much influence over American politics. She could be right about one thing, but everything else she says is fucking garbage. And again, she's not bringing anybody. So what the fuck are we even talking about? This is basically the left-wing equivalent of supporting Marjorie Taylor Greene is the left-wing equivalent of supporting Bill Kristol or Tim Miller or Sarah Longwell. It's the same. It is basically just doing the Kamala Harris campaign again. But she's our Liz Cheney, the leftist Liz Cheney, because what? She said Trump was wrong about, like, and did that tract anybody? No, it made our movement weaker. It alienates everybody who she offends. She doesn't bring anything. I think saying Marjorie Taylor Greene is motivated by anti-Semitism is heavy speculating. She campaigned with Nick Fuentes. It's not speculation. We went to the 2022 what was it called? America First Action Conference, AFPAC. Marjorie Taylor Greene downplays speaking at conference founded by white nationalist Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia on Sunday downplayed her attendance and speaking slot at a fringe right-wing conference with ties to white nationalists. By the way, February 2022. So before October 7th, right? She first told CBS News that she didn't know who the organizers of the event were and their views. Congressman Paul Gosar of Arizona spoke at the same event. In 2021, former Congressman Steve King of Iowa and Idaho Lieutenant Governor Janice McGeehan also attended. Video conference on Saturday showed Fuentes and attendees cheering for Russian President Vladimir Putin, as well as approving of comparisons between Putin and Adolf Hitler. Fuentes also called the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th awesome. She just accidentally spoke at the at Nick Fuentes' shit. She's not anti-Semitic at all. What do you mean?
He will make us wealthy again. And as God as my witness, he will finally give us the country we deserve. Because Donald...
This reminds me of what people started liking Michael Cullen because he got a gig working for Midas Touch. Wait, really? And then as soon as he was given opportunity, he went right back to Trump. Is that true? Is that fucking true?
John Trump is the leader America deserves. God bless the American people. God bless President Trump, and God bless the United States of America.
I can spell. This is how I feel. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the dopey leftist version of Liz Cheney, an excommunicated Republican with no popular base who is now irrelevant, but is propped up as a token in order to advance some ridiculous cope about the right-wing forces in America. I don't think there's, I honest to God, don't think there's anything, you can't even disagree with that. You can't disagree with that. Like, she has no base. Stop it. Stop. Fucking stop it. Dopey leftist version. Oh, okay, I can add in, I don't need, they're fine. Might as well use my update powers, right? Loeffler campaign. She had no idea she posed with the neo-Nazi that first. Of course, it's Georgia. Republicans in Georgia love Nazism. Marjorie Taylor Greene has negative 50% unfavorable, 70% favorable. Also, Jesus Christ. JD Vance is favorable in this poll? Jesus Christ, this is a bad poll. When was this from? Okay, this is from a long time ago. Thank God. Thank fucking God.
Confession session. This is confession.
I think a lot of people also forget what she did as far as like breaking barriers as the cart titan. Like the amount of civilians that she ate is in the thousands. Okay. And we just totally forgot about that. Like those are war crimes, right? Like those are war crimes that she did on her own as the smiling titan. Why are we discounting?
This is Ocasio confession right there.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I'm an American citizen. I pay your salary through the taxes that you collect from me through the IRS because I'm a tax-paying citizen of the United States. I'm a woman.
Like she broke through the walls of the Capitol to do this. Do you know how many civilians she ate in the process?
So you need to stop being a baby and stop locking your door and come out and face the American citizens that you serve. If you want to be a big girl, you need to get rid of your diaper and come out and be able to talk to the American citizens instead of us having to use a flap, a little flap.
It's kind of like her. She's kind of she's like she keeps flapping her gums.
Oh, like, flappy, flappy.
Okay, well,
this is like child games.
This is child session.
Anybody home?
Hello there.
Hello. Hashtag where's AOC?
This is psychotic, dude. What the?
This creepy.
Vandalizing her guest book and all sorts of creepy shit like that.
Hide and seek.
This is huh?
Hide and seek.
I can't believe Americans elected her, man. We really are a insane country.
Tag, you're it. Guess what? You can't stay in there forever. Can you come out and play?
Oh my God.
All right, so I guess she got the message before we came here, because if you want to come to visit the socialist, communist,
You're a very good artist.
I'm just trying to decorate, you know?
This is her book where we sign it.
This is her signing book, and I'm just signing it. Immature child.
Should we draw a wall?
Yeah,
Let's draw a wall. Is there another pen? We really want to draw a wall. So let's draw what a wall looks like, everybody. This is a wall.
In 2021, Marjorie Taylor Greene was calling the squad Hamas supporters. People are way too harsh on people like AOC and grade right wingers on a huge curb. Yeah, it is pretty crazy.
I think one of the things that really hashtag proud to stand with Israel. I think look at that shit, man. Look at her. Look what she did. Hashtag stand with Israel. This is why like being a left winger is actually just so fucking painful. It's so fucking painful. It's like I've been right on this shit for literally like a decade publicly, and people are arrogantly speak at me. They arrogantly speak at me like they know, like they just started paying attention to this shit like 18 months ago max. They come in here to go like AOC's a sellout. That's why we got to support Marjorie Taylor Greene. Proud to hashtag stand with Israel alongside my Republican colleagues this morning on Capitol Hill. 0 Democrats showed up at this press conference. AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, and Cori Bush. The Jihad Squad openly support Hamas terrorists attacking Israel.
Like,
We had peace all over the world because President Trump led from strength.
do you understand why it's a little bit? I mean, I know Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's a little too difficult for me to be like, yeah, no, that's my queen, right? Am I crazy? Am I nuts? I mean, I welcome growth, right? I love rehabilitation. I welcome growth. You know this, but it's crazy to me that we're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like maybe she's had real growth in this issue. Where are you on Massey? I respect Massey a lot more than these guys, a lot more, and I don't align with Massey on. Except
he's just a libertarian racist. Like he doesn't think it's polite to be racist. He thinks that you should be able to immigrate. He's just a libertarian ideologue. And we're going to end up aligning with libertarian ideologues on a couple things because they don't believe that the government should be involved, which means, for us, there's going to be situations where we agree. So that's the reality. So yeah, he's a libertarian ideologue and he'll be useful on a couple policies.
Two key issues, and I have a lot more respect for Thomas Massey than I do for Marjorie Taylor Greene.
He also didn't quit like a bitch. Like he didn't cowardly dive out of power. He said, I'm gonna run, bring it on AIPAC. I'm standing for America. At least he had the balls to do that. Meanwhile, Marjorie Taylor Greene gets one bad tweet and she quits. Like, what fucking use are you?
Massey has consistently been there, and he's also done things. Thomas Massey is literally just still a straightforward racist, but I think Thomas Massey is a lot more serious than Marjorie Taylor Greene is. Because like people say, oh, she like stood up to her party leadership on these issues. Yeah, so did Thomas Massey. A lot earlier than Marjorie Taylor Greene did. Like when you would get a ton more punishments for it. Massey is also consistent. His worldview is nuts, but consistent. Yeah, that's true. I mean, his worldview is nuts.
Not just quit, but waited until she qualified for pension to quit. Straight them leeching off taxpayers while doing nothing. Yeah, exactly. What a fucking fraud. Oh my God. All right, chat. I wanted to talk a lot about this on Friday, but we didn't have time, which is UK elections. The Green Party surging. Second largest party in the United Kingdom is now the left-wing, eco-populist, eco-socialist Green Party. And the biggest party by far is the far-right fascist Reform Party. So it's literally socialism versus barbarism. Barbarism is currently in the lead.
DemocracyNow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We begin today's show looking at what's been described as a political earthquake in Britain. In local elections last week, the far-right Reform UK party surged in popularity while the Labour Party suffered heavy losses. The Reform UK party is led by Nigel Farage, who was the chief architect of Brexit, close ally of President Donald Trump. Farage celebrated his party's success.
But I think overall what's happened is a truly historic shift in British politics. We've been so used to thinking about politics in terms of left and right, and yet what Reform are able to do is to win in areas that have always been conservative, but equally we're proving in a big way we can win in areas that Labour have dominated, frankly, since the end of World War I.
Calls are growing for British Prime Minister Keir Starmer to resign after his Labour Party suffered historic losses. This is Starmer speaking Friday.
Let me be clear, these are really tough results. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And we have lost brilliant Labour representatives, people who put so much into their communities, so much into our party and our movement. And the voters have sent a message about the pace of change, how they want their lives improved. May was elected to...
What a fucking fraud. Can someone link me when he was like, if you don't like how we're being a centrist party, you can leave? Can someone link that to me, please? Complete fucking dope. And this is what they want the Democratic Party to become, by the way. Starmerism. And they don't care how many times it fails. They're going to keep trying Starmerism. And they, by the way, they'll point at Carney as an example. And it's like, Carney is only successful because of nationalism, you fucking idiot. Donald Trump said they're going to invade fucking Canada. And he stood against that. That's the only reason he's popular. Every other place, if you're talking about his politics, his policies are going to fucking cause a crisis in Canada. I mean, maybe their economy will do okay because oil prices are surging and they're a resource exporter. They're America's Kuwait. So maybe they'll do well because the tar sands oil prices are high or whatever the fuck. But Canada is nothing but a gas station and a tree farm. Let's be fucking honest.
Meet those challenges, and I'm not going to walk away from those challenges and plunge the country into chaos. Well, they've sent a message that the change that we promised isn't being delivered in a way they can feel, and also, frankly, they're fed up with years of the status quo. But we were elected to deal with those challenges, and I'm not going to walk away from that and to plunge the country into chaos.
In a sign of the splintering of the British political system, the Conservative Party also suffered significant losses, while the Green Party won hundreds of council seats. We go now to London, where we're joined by the journalist and author Daniel Trilling. His new book is titled, If We Tolerate This, How the British Establishment Made the Far Right Respectable. Daniel, thanks so much for being with us. Why don't you start off by responding to these historic losses of the Labour Party?
Yeah, thanks, Amy. So absolutely right. This has been a real disaster for the Labour Party. It wasn't quite as disastrous as had been predicted a few weeks ago, but they've sunk to new lows electorally around Britain. So as well as losing hundreds of councillors in England, they lost very badly in the elections for the Welsh Parliament, which were happening at the same time. Labour has dominated Welsh politics for over a century, and they're now, trailing behind behind the Welsh Nationalist Party, Plaid Cymru, and Reform, who've come in second. But it was interesting to hear Nigel Farage's spin.
Like all the like nations of the United Kingdom, the left-wing nationalist parties are doing well. There's an alignment with left-wing nationalist policies. Like in all of the like separatist movements, they're all left-wing nationalist parties, and they do really, really well. Scottish National Party's doing well. The Welsh National Parties are doing well. You know, Sinn Féin, those kind of parties all do well as a reaction to the failure of Labour.
On what happened in that clip you played of him earlier, because yeah, this is historic.
The National Socialist of the UK. No, it's decolonial. I mean, that's like one of those things where if I could do something, and I'm not trying to target you in particular, Chatter, but just kind of anytime somebody talks about a left-wing decolonial leftist like socialist movement that also organizes around like decolonization, so it has a national streak. Like if every time that happened, anybody who said they were national socialists would just get punched directly in the balls, or like whatever the most sensitive spot on your body is. Okay, that would be cool. Right in the taint, just because first of all, it's not funny, right? It's also a sign of like a profound level of political stupidity that is like toxic. And it's so stupid that it makes me stop what I'm doing to kind of like explain some shit that's so fucking basic. You should have picked it up by now, right? Like the idea of the nationalist idea as a way of fighting against colonialism and imperialism is liberatory. And that has been the position that the left has held since fucking Lenin. Can we please stop? And even more annoying, National Socialism, you know, the Nazi party, they explicitly called themselves that in order to cause dumb fucks to think that there is in any way a relation to socialism. Nazism is not socialism in one country. It rejects socialism. It rejects class conflict. It rejects all those ideas. And they said so themselves. They said it was to piss off leftists with gobbledygook. So the fact that I have to like trip over myself fucking 80 years later because idiots fall for Hitler's marketing ploy, it's a bit much. It's got to stop at some point.
Reform have made this huge advance, you know, adding to their tally of council seats that they began to rack up last year in similar elections. But actually, in terms of vote share, they underperformed expectations a bit. So Reform got around 27% of the vote overall. But they really benefited from this wider fragmenting of politics. You know, we now have kind of 4, 5, or even 6-party politics in the UK, depending on exactly where you live. Reform have benefited from that because they've kind of managed to concentrate that vote in areas where they were able to win lots of seats. But actually, this suggestion that Reform have completely kind of erased the distinction between left and right, I don't think is true. And I think Farage is putting that spin on things because Reform were really trying in this election to make bigger inroads into areas that the centre-right Conservative Party had traditionally been strong in, and they didn't really do as well as expected there. Where they did do well were in areas that voted to leave the EU in the Brexit referendum a decade ago, and where they've always had the attention of a certain chunk of voters. So I think it's the overall fragmentation that is the real story here.
So talk about, well, the title of your book, If We Tolerate This, how the British establishment made the far right respectable. If you can talk about who Farage is and what he represents.
Yeah, so one of the big changes in British politics in recent years has been this very alarming and rapid rise of ideas and rhetoric associated with the far right. So, you know, very strong anti-immigration rhetoric, attacks on supposed elites running the country and so on, you know, things that will be very familiar to your viewers in the US from Donald Trump and his works. And that's really, you know, the pressure there has really come from two sources. One of them is a lot of far-right activity outside the electoral system. You know, we've had kind of big street protests and rallies and...
What nation on average do you think is more politically illiterate, the States or the United Kingdom? I I would definitely say the United Kingdom. If I'm being completely honest, like you guys, like the United Kingdom seems to get more tricked by like bad faith accusations of anti-Semitism, where it seems like in the U.S. it doesn't work that well. You know, like yes, they try to call me anti-Semitic, Hasan anti-Semitic, like everybody anti-Semitic, but it seems like Americans kind of get like, oh yeah, that's just because they don't like Israel. That's kind of bullshit. I mean, you know. I think Donald Trump is worse than probably anyone the UK has. He's in the fact that he's more charismatic for regular like boomers. But I think like Starmer is worse than Harris. Like almost on every single thing that you can line up, the Brits seem to be worse off. That being said, like I liked Corbyn, and I think Zach Polanski is an interesting candidate. I hope he does well. But like, I don't know. Oh my God, chat. By the way, I forgot to remind you. Jesus Christ, my computer shut off right when I was about to say. I was about to remind you, chat. The Reaction Podcast has released another episode because we never miss a beat. The Reaction Podcast has now released Candace Owens, episode 9 on Candace Owens. So make sure you get out there and you join the Reaction Podcast. We already have 1,200 members, and let me tell you, it's a banger. We are going to have already, if you join today, 10 hours. What is it like? What do we got? How many hours do we got? We got a lot of hours. We've already had Sam Cedar, Liv Agar, and of course, Hassanavi Piker. When your parole officer comes in, remember to do your job. Yeah, I was just about to do it, and then my computer fucking hard crashed, which was super fucking annoying. Holy shit. So make sure you guys check it out. It's an amazing episode. Here's the link tree. Go check it out. Anyway, the Marjorie Taylor Greene shit. It's like, hey, Yagopnik, do you know who Marjorie Taylor Greene is? Yagopnik, do you know who Marjorie Taylor Greene is? I want to show you something. I want to show Yagopnik. As a European, what is your reaction to this?
I'm Marjorie Greene, and I approve this ad. America's the greatest country in the world. We need conservatives in Washington that will keep it that way. I'm running to stop gun control. Open borders. The Green New Deal. And socialism. Democrats fight for their socialist agenda every single day. I'll fight even harder to stop them. I'm Marjorie Greene, Republican for Congress. Save America, stop socialism.
So, Yagopnik, what's your reaction to that? Yeah, baby, shoot that socialism. That's okay. You want to see something even better? She did another ad.
Joe Biden abandoned Americans in Afghanistan, got 13 of our best soldiers killed, gave a kill list of Americans to the Taliban, and armed an Islamic terrorist nation with $83 billion in weapons, like this one. Biden should be impeached. Now I'm doing a gun giveaway of my own, but for Americans only. I want you to win this .50 caliber rifle that Democrats will ban if they keep the House next year. While Joe Biden broke America's pledge to never leave a man behind, Nancy Pelosi is sneaking the Green New Deal into the $3.5 trillion budget. And in 2022, I'm going to blow away the Democrat socialist agenda.
That was Solio's Prius.
Go to the website below and sign up to win my .50 caliber gun before Joe Biden bans it.
I don't think a European brain can handle that. I don't think the European brain can handle that. I think you're acting like that's a show or a television show, but no, that's actually the Republican Party. And so when everybody's like, fuck AOC, I love Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm a socialist, by the way. We should trust her. We're all gonna die. Like, we're actually all gonna die, chat. We're so completely and unbelievably fucked. Mike, we got a transphobe in the chat. I recognize that name. I think they're a pet. I don't need to prove to everyone that I'm not trans. Shut the fuck up. Stop being so sensitive. Jesus Christ. If you were me for 5 minutes, your brain would explode. Jesus fucking Christ. When you're whining and complaining about being criticized, just imagine being Hasan for 5 minutes. And you'll realize one person adding you in a Twitch chat is nothing to get worked up over. Jesus Christ. All right. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Again, just to remind you my final point on Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the dopey leftist version of Liz Cheney, an excommunicated Republican with no popular base who is now irrelevant, but is propped up as a token in order to advance some ridiculous cope about right-wing forces in America. Doesn't represent anybody. She quit the moment she had one bad tweet about her from Trump, and she's a fucking loser. Here's her. Wait, what did she say?
There's your wall money right there, everybody. I mean, this is like, it's so stupid simple. It's not even funny. It's stupid simple. But we have retards. I'm sorry. I know that's an offensive word, and I'm not trying to talk down on people with Down syndrome, but that's what these people are. These people are so stupid and ignorant, they cannot put something common sense in place, like spending the $14 billion of El Chapo drug money to build our wall. It's nonsense. See, that's how stupid these people are that we have elected. And why do we have them? They're losers. They couldn't make it in real life if they tried. I'm not lying to you. These people are criminals. There's your wall money right.
All right, let's go back to the UK elections. I want to finish that.
In mob violence in some cases, attacking hotels that are being used to accommodate asylum seekers. And then we've had a lot of pressure from Farage's political party, Reform UK, who have been, trying to shape some of these resentments and some of this anger into a right-wing populist political project of the kind that we're seeing in lots of different liberal democracies around the world at the moment. For Farage, this is just the latest stage in a kind of long political career where he's come from outside the mainstream right and has tried to make his brand of right-wing populist politics the leading force in Britain. So he was previously leader of the UK Independence Party, and via his leadership of UKIP, he played an instrumental role in winning the Brexit referendum for the Leave campaign. He then formed another party called the Brexit Party after that to kind of push for the hardest exit from the EU possible. And Reform UK, the latest
unironically, a Tuckersonian reformist, right, we talked about on the show is the future, and so many fucking idiots will fall for it. Oh no, of course they will. I mean, that's why, like, when I talked to Hasan about this, and it's like, the main problem I have with AOC is that she doesn't understand that we need to have a friend-enemy distinction. That's the media. That's social media. Either you're in the friend group, in which case we will infinitely defend anything you do, no matter how unprincipled and disgusting, or you're on the other. That's where people are mentally right now. And, you can't make gestures to the other side. People don't believe that politics is possible like that anymore. They vote, they act in a way to harm the people they dislike. If you want to create a politics that is about care, that is about advancing some sort of agenda, you need to seize power by differentiating yourself from your enemies and pile driving them into the fucking dirt. And if you're an anti-Zionist, making any gestures toward Israel is just going to do nothing for you, because all the pro-Israel people, they don't have any room for nuance. You're either support Israel unquestioningly or you're a fucking Hamas supporter. That's how they see it. And if you are opposed to Israel, if you're an anti-Zionist, if you grant anything to the Israeli side, a bunch of people are going to call you a Zionist. Hell, if you associate with anybody who grants anything to the Israeli side, they're going to play telephone to say that you're a liberal Zionist. So learn the fucking realities of politics in the world today and define your enemy and collect friends. It's not that complicated. That is the nature of social media. If you want to cover the UK in more depth, you should get Chris K live on before Hasan snaps him up. Does some great work, and you definitely have seen it before. Log started streaming on Twitch. Oh, that sounds cool.
In fact, it's a renamed Brexit
I'm off
party.
My game because the computer crashed. I'm bummed.
But what he's doing here is actually trying to build a political platform that will allow his him and his party to win power in Westminster nationally. And the key themes that that's built on, it's heavily anti-immigration, and they make a real point of trying to kind of flex their muscles and show how ostentatiously cruel they're going to be to what they call illegal immigrants, which is a wide range of people who are living in the UK, some of whom have lived here for quite a long time. Earlier this year, one of Reform's big pre-local election announcements was that it wanted to create a British ICE. So that kind of tells you where they are on that. They made that an...
Now, Daniel, let me play a campaign ad from Nigel Farage.
I'm in Essex today, and this is the Bell Hotel in Epping. Now, you might remember these scenes being on national news last year. Anyone that comes illegally into Britain on a boat or in the back of a lorry will be detained and deported. But that's going to mean having to detain quite a lot of people who are here already. They should not be free to walk the streets. The policy is very simple. You vote for a Reform MP, you will not have a detention facility in your constituency. But if you vote Green, or those that support open borders in the world, that's where the detention centres are going to be. Equally, I could say the same of Labour and the Conservatives, because they've done nothing to stop it.
Daniel Trilling, your response.
That kind of sums up what Reform are about. So, like I was saying before, it's kind of...
Did you notice the Schmittian nature of what that politics was? Now that that's the word of the day, Schmittian. Do you understand how it's like, if you vote for Reform, I'll put a concentration camp in the Greens, right? It's this kind of like faux, I will create a pain for my opponents. Vote for me and I'll be vicious and cruel and sadistic. And I will make sure that the negative externalities that result from this policy they're not in your district. Wait, why don't you want those detention facilities in the Reform districts? Why don't you want them in Reform districts? Don't you want to see the children getting put in a concentration camp? What, you want to hide your eyes from the crimes you're committing? Why don't you put that in your districts? Isn't that jobs? What happened?
Making a virtue of how punitive and cruel they're going to be to certain groups of immigrants, but also kind of directing that at their political enemies as well.
Like, that's like part of the fun of fascism. And I gotta tell you, like, as a far leftist, I want to make.
Sorry for Boris, Mark, or not?
That's where I've been for the last few years. I've got to say, I'm immensely grateful to you for everything you've done in British politics over the last few years. I used to be an ardent Remainer. I voted Remain. I believed in the European project. Mm-hmm. I believed that staying in the European Union was the best thing for us. And then something happened, and something monumental happened. It completely changed my opinion on the whole situation.
What was that monumental thing, Mark?
I was kicked in the head by a horse.
Or my brain exploded. My brain exploded from a fucking aneurysm. All right, chat. I gotta actually go. Sorry for calling it short again. We've been having short streams lately, but we got more content coming tomorrow. I'll make sure our computer doesn't crash. Vio is live, so you get the opportunity to see Vio again. Wow. We went to a Vince Gilligan, the guy who wrote Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Pluribus, etc. themed party. I went as a friend of the cartel, cartel inspired lawyer. Vince Gilligan. I can never pronounce his fucking name. Anyway, it was pretty fun. Ask Vio who she went as. Stay safe. Solidarity forever, my friends. Don't forget the reaction podcast and all the other links. I'll be back tomorrow. Vibes? We're going to have Pro Vibe Week. Pro Vibe Week. The vibes are going to be transformed to the positive tomorrow. So come back for positive vibes. I'll see you all. Stay safe. Solidarity forever. That's how socialism wins. See ya.